And now, live from the Steele Twins recording studio in beautiful Traverse City, Michigan, and Casa del Fraytown in Taylor, Michigan, here are your hosts for the Outside Blitz, the fabulous Scotty Fraytown, and the Cannonball, Alex Steele.
And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Outside Blitz. I am your host, the fabulous one, Scotty Fraytown, and welcome to the Outside Blitz live, man. We got live streams going. We're live on Kick. We're live on Twitch. We're live on X. We are live. We're live on Facebook.
We're live from my mama's basement. No, wait a minute, that's not right. I paid to eat out of this house.
No, hang on a minute. Yeah, I was gonna say. But, you know, we are live. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Outside Blitz. I'm your host, fabulous one, Scotty Fraytown, joined by the Cannonball, Alex Steele. And, folks, in case you missed it, Langing's vlog is now following. Hey, welcome to the party. I appreciate you. Folks, in case you missed it, we have new world champions in the NFL. The Seattle Seahawks did go out and beat the New England Patriots this past Sunday. Hell of a game. Well, not really hell of a game. It was very one-sided. It was a very defensive battle with a heavy dose of Kenny Walker. That's basically what we got out of that game. Seahawks pick up the W 29-13 over the Patriots. Listen, this is kind of like I expected it. You expected it. I was surprised that Boots took the New England Patriots. Mm-hmm. But, hey, you know, the New England Patriots, they put up a valiant effort right up until about the third quarter. And then things got really ugly really fast. It was bad, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I do have to take just a couple of seconds. I got to shout out my partner in crime at the Steele Twins Gaming, the Package Ager Steele. He has just subscribed to my Twitch channel for 9 months in a row. Shout out, you're the best. And Zion the Potato, our good friend in our streams, has entered the chat. So we'll be hearing from him. And I will say this, you know, okay, this. I've been waiting several days for this moment. I'm going to clear my throat. I'm going to get my vocal cords nice and loose.
Oh, yeah.
High Tails After Dark. What did I say? What did I say? I told you people that the Seattle Seahawks defense was going to rule the roost. Now, Sam Darnold, to his credit, got his team this far. But let me tell you something, brother. The Super Bowl MVP at the end of the night was one Kenneth Walker III, and that Seattle defense shut down Drake May and the New England Patriots. You know, Drake May only got off two really deep and lucky passes to, of all receivers, Mac Hollins. More on that when we go through our scores. But I'll tell you what, I was right. Y'all were sleeping on me when I was okay. Well, I don't know, but the Sam Darnold's the story. Sam Darnold. Well, that's true. He got them in position, but man, They went the way they needed to go with rolling the bowling ball and Ol Kenny Walker. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, look, Kenneth Walker, I have been wondering for the whole season. I said it on our X page on Twitter there. I had said it on this show that I was wondering why in the hell the Seattle Seahawks were not running Kenneth Walker and why they were letting Zach Charbonnet hawk so many touches from him. It's sometime throughout the season you would see Zach Charbonnet. It was the Zach Charbonnet show. Mm-hmm. That's what it was. And we're over here going, what in the hell is going on? Because Kenneth Walker is the better running back. He's shown that he's the better running back. And I understand there's an injury issue there. I mean, well, we're not going to ignore that. But at the same time, Kenneth Walker is your bell. And the fact that Zach Charbonnet was the one that got hurt in the playoffs, Kenneth Walker shows up the way he did in the playoffs because, man, Kenny Walker throughout the entire playoff stretch was red hot. And then especially in the Super Bowl, we know, look, if Seattle knows what's good for him, they're going to pay Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker deserves a big fat contract. And there's going to be a bunch of other teams when he winds up going elsewhere there's going to be teams that are going to sign him to a big, fat, ridiculous deal. You know that there's going to be a bunch of teams chomping at the bit to have him come in walking through the door. And frankly, look, if I'm Kenneth Walker, I'm happy I won a Super Bowl in Seattle. But if a team comes knocking, if say Houston comes knocking, a team like that where they're probably going to walk away from Joe Mixon after this year, I'm really considering it because Kenneth Walker is going to get paid 13, 14, 15 million sometime this offseason based on this playoff performance, based on this Super Bowl performance. The injuries are a concern, but if you're going to wind up taking that risk on a big time running back, Kenneth Walker's your guy, don't you think?
Absolutely. And, I think we had a lot of controversy a couple of years ago where how much should a running back really be signed for? Right. We thought that $20 million a year was a bit much, if I'm not mistaken. But I think with the salary cap raising even higher now this year, don't be surprised if they sign that man to a $20 million a year or $22 million a year. I mean, that is your bell cow right there, like you said.
Well, I don't know that though, because at 2020, 22, you're probably talking higher than Saquon at that point. But listen, if I'm looking at Kenneth Walker and I see, for example, James Cook I believe he got 16 million, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm Kenneth Walker and I'm getting 14 to 15, that sounds about right. That's good market value for Kenneth Walker. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I think that's a nice, solid chunk of change for a running back that has, yes, some injury issues, but is shown to be explosive. You remember back at Michigan State, he's the guy that dropped 5 touchdowns on that vaunted Michigan defense. He is a great running back. He deserves every penny of what he's going to get this offseason. So I'm fired up for Kenneth Walker. And another guy that's going to get signed this offseason that comes out of this game that deserves a contract big time, Christian Gonzalez, the corner for the New England Patriots. He was shut down in this game, man. He was rocking. And really, if we're being honest here, based on one game, Mac Hollins is probably going to get himself a decent contract too. He was the X factor for that Patriots offense that started to kind of, it was like, oh, we had a moment there where the big pass got thrown to Mac Hollins, big touchdown, and we were all like, oh, is this the moment? Is this the moment where New England comes roaring back? Is this the time? And Steele Twins Andy, your brother, he shows up here. Gonzalez was a bad man, and I mean that in a good way. Yes, he was. He was a shutdown corner. He's one of the best corners in football. I was blown away by what he did in this game. So, you got some guys that based on performances in the Super Bowl, they're going to wind up getting big, fat contracts. And don't be surprised to see Mac Hollins, Christian Gonzalez, and Kenny Walker all getting those deals. And frankly, I wouldn't even be surprised to see Sam Darnold get a different contract. He's got 2 years left on his deal, both of which are not guaranteed. Look, if I'm Sam Darnold, I'm talking about, hey, I just won a Super Bowl for you guys. How about 45, 50 million a year? The money talks and bullshit walks, and here we go. So get ready. Sam Darnold, that's what he's going to get. Cash, baby. So get ready for that. But at the end of the day, the Seattle Seahawks are your world champions. Hey, good on them. That defense, like you said, Alex, was rocking. Kenny Walker tore it up. And the Seahawks go out and get it done. And the offseason has begun since then. And we've already had a lot going on in the coaching carousel, but I feel like, we're introducing the slap chop or something.
Yeah, it is in full swing right now. It's like somebody got in the motor works and it's spinning at full speed. It's kind of like that carnival ride. What's that carnival ride where it looks like you're in a UFO and it keeps spinning faster and faster and tilting up to the side?
Oh, the
Gravitron. Stereo.
Yeah.
Well, we have the coaching Gravitron rocking and rolling. So
big spin cycle. The Patriots after the Super Bowl, had an announcement, defensive coordinator Terrell Williams, he's being moved to a higher ranking role. If I'm not mistaken, he beat prostate cancer. But he's being moved to a high ranking role. Yep. To a high ranking role in Mike Vrabel's coaching staff, after becoming cancer free. So good for him. Congratulations to him. The Patriots defensive coordinator role, however, is now open. So it creates a little bit of an interesting situation. Inside linebackers coach Zach Kerr, who called plays during New England's Super Bowl run, is the top candidate for the position per Ian Rappaport and Tom Pelissero. So, Terrell Williams, I mean, it's great that they're retaining him. He's probably going to get moved up to an assistant head coach situation. Good on the Patriots for keeping him on board and being patient with him, and good for him for beating cancer. I want to see what goes on with their defensive coordinator position. And look, if it's me, I think it's the right thing. Move your middle linebacker coach up. The guy was calling the plays anyway. He's got the thing under control. Your defense was really good last year. Keep him in the spot, right?
Yep, absolutely. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Because again, all year the Patriots have had that stout defense that has gotten them through games, and the fact that they held the Broncos in the AFC title game to 10 points, that says something too. Although, if we can't use that game really, but throughout the rest of the season, the Patriots were pretty stout on defense, and even, Sam Darnold got sacked a couple of times in this game. The Patriots sacked Sam Darnold 6 times in the Super Bowl. Yeah. So I mean, they can get to the quarterback. So I mean, they just Kenny Walker was just able to get away much quicker. Yeah.
Yeah, the thing was Seattle leaned on the run game. That was the big thing. They said, all right, we're going to lean on this run game. Sam can't get anything done. The Patriots, like I said, Christian Gonzalez, a lot of those sacks were coverage sacks. Nobody was getting open. That Patriot secondary was getting it done. And now as for the Seahawks, they've got some issues coming around the bend here because the Raiders they seem to be poaching the Seahawks staff right now. The Raiders have officially hired former Seahawks offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak as head coach. This came out last week before the Super Bowl. We talked about it, about the idea that Clint Kubiak was likely going to become their new head coach. Now he becomes their head coach. It was official. I mean, as soon as the game ended, Clint Kubiak was like, yeah, I'm going to Vegas. Like, he didn't make no bones about it. We knew right off the rip that he was going. But then also taking a guy with him, the Raiders are currently interviewing. And Dave, my buddy Dave Alley, Dave, thank you for liking the stream. But the Raiders are interviewing Seahawks wide receiver coach Frisman Jackson for their offensive coordinator position. So they're talking about taking the Seahawks wide receiver coach, which makes a lot of sense if you look at it, because if you look at the success of Jackson Smith and Jigba this year and everything that Sam Darnold was able to accomplish with the receivers over there, guys like Jake Bobo, who really came out of nowhere. Yep. And Jake Bobo turned into a pretty darn good receiver. AJ Barner as a tight end. I mean, but he's still catching passes. I mean, this makes a lot of sense to me. I like the idea of having that guy come with you. But then also the Raiders made another move. They went and hired Mike McCoy as their assistant head coach. He finished last season as the Titans interim head coach. So the Raiders are putting together a decent enough staff here. In spite of getting a late start, really, Clint Kubiak is getting some coordinators here and getting some of his guys.
So
right there?
Yeah, I'm good. Yep, I probably just need to hydrate. No, that's so we're looking to see what they're going to do in the draft. I mean, it's obvious with the number 1 pick in the draft that they're going to they're probably staring down Fernando Mendoza. Even though they already have Geno Smith, but can we if we can be completely honest here, I really think that Geno Smith is just, at this stage in his career, in the place where he is, I would not be surprised to see Vegas put him in the backup position. So,
yeah,
so if they're putting the staff together to really change up the culture, change up the ideas behind, the players and the schemes, we might see something out of this Ravens team. We have seen, a year a 1 year long turnaround. Mike Vrabel did it with these Patriots. So, don't sit there and say it's not possible, because, brother, it is.
Yeah, it's 100% possible. The issue that the Raiders are going to have is whether or not Fernando Mendoza is able to be successful. And Fernando Mendoza going to this situation, I don't know that he's going to be able to be successful. You're sticking him in a situation where we talked about it we're going to talk about it with him, but we've talked about it with other teams, right? You bought the Ferrari, but you didn't put it in the garage is the most common theme that we've had as far as guys like, for example, Joe Burrow. You bought Tua Tagovailoa. You go and spend these high-level draft picks on these guys. You buy the Ferrari, but then you don't get the offensive line to protect them. You buy the Ferrari, you don't put it in the garage. It's silly. And my mind is always blown every time teams do this. You do it with Tua, you do it with Burrow. Now they're getting ready to, Vegas is getting ready to do it with Fernando. And so help me, for that poor kid, I hope beyond hope that he winds up going to a place, or a team winds up trading up to get him to a place where he's going to be successful. Because if he goes to the Vegas Raiders, there is no way in hell that he's going to be successful. The Vegas Raiders need to take a step back, and they need to reassess what in the hell they're doing here. You have to get an offensive line. You have to. Ashton Genty was making chicken salad out of chicken shit a lot this year because he had no blocking, none. And Geno Smith got the hell beat out of him, and that doesn't absolve Geno Smith because he outright had a bad year. But God, you got to get a line. If you're going to get a Fernando Mendoza, you got to get a line. If I were the Raiders, I would be trading out of that spot. I would be finding ways to acquire more draft picks so I could get a better offensive line and maybe go into the second round, the late first round maybe, and wind up getting, hey, let me get a new quarterback in the latter rounds. There's guys that are available in this draft. It's not considered by and far a top-heavy quarterback class. You're not, it's Ty Simpson who's going to wind up at the bottom of the first round, maybe early second round. You're talking Diego Pavia. Right. I mean, Trinidad Chambliss just got the okay to go back to school, and
finally,
frankly, I wouldn't want him anyway. Yeah, but I wouldn't want him anyway. I mean, the guy basically, he killed any draft stock he had. Basically, but Carson Beck's going to be out there. There's options. And if you put those guys in the right position, you're fine. The Raiders have an opportunity to do that. I just don't think Fernando Mendoza is the right spot. And then the Raiders have other problems because defensive end Max Crosby, he reportedly has played his last game as a Raider. But Clint Kubiak's like, well, maybe, we'd love to have him back, but trade rumors are swirling. New England, Detroit, Baltimore, Tampa, among the teams that are currently suitors for the services of one Max Crosby. Obviously, it's going to cost several first rounders to get him. Look, if I'm the Raiders right now, I'm embracing the full rebuild. And I'm not just going to go out, draft a first-round quarterback and get him killed. And that's just kind of what they seem like they're setting up to do. And I think it's silly as hell.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we sit there and, we just wish that these quarterbacks had an opportunity to really turn it on in year one, or even better, sit behind a seasoned veteran in year one, learn and adapt to the system and become molded so that when he starts, he can just pick up where we left off, or where they left off rather. So, I mean, I would not be surprised to see Fernando Mendoza go number 1 overall. And I would also not be surprised to see the Raiders make the same mistake the Dolphins made, not building an offensive line. Because we've been heavily critical of the Raiders organization, whether they were in Oakland or whether they were in Vegas. So, I mean, it all just comes down to, I've always used this tenet. I'll believe it when I see it.
That's it. And it's funny you bring up the Dolphins, because the Dolphins are in a way, they're over here scapegoating Tua Tagovailoa. They're expected to move on from him this offseason. The decision hasn't been fully made, but the expectation is that they're going to move on from Tua Tagovailoa. Look, like we just talked about, you bought the Ferrari, you didn't put it in the garage, and here we are. Tua Tagovailoa might wind up as a free agent this year. I mean, and look, we just saw what happens when you get a guy like Sam Darnold. who was with multiple bad organizations, right? Mm-hmm. And then he winds up going to a team that takes care of him. He goes to a team like, for example, first he goes to San Francisco. First he's with the Jets, right? He's terrible. Jets are awful. He goes to the Panthers. They're an awful organization. 2 government cheese organizations, right? Then he goes over to San Francisco, goes to San Fran, learns a little something, goes to Minnesota, learns a lot of something, and then goes over to Seattle, where they have basically a ready-built team for that type of quarterback. They put together a good offensive line. They put together a great defense. It's just a phenomenal defense. They have receivers available. They have tight ends available, and he knows how to run that system effectively and efficiently, and he takes everything he learned. He goes over to a spot that's going to take good care of him, and he's successful. You could see the same thing, quite honestly, and I don't know that Tua is going to be the same caliber quarterback as Sam Darnold, but you could very well see the same thing if he goes to a different place that's going to take care of him, that's going to give him proper protection, that's going to put him in the right system. Because Tua Tagovailoa has shown in the past that he's able to really spin it. And he has, if you recall his time with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and what he did throwing the deep ball, there's a possibility, right? I mean, am I wrong here? You could see Tua Tagovailoa go elsewhere and be successful.
Here's the gimmick that I have with the beef that I have with Tua Tagovailoa. The Miami Dolphins did him so dirty because they allowed him to get concussed so many times. He's damaged goods, in my opinion. I agree with the idea that, it's possible that he could, have a career resurgence, especially if he goes to the proper organization. He's not going to improve with the Miami Dolphins. So this is the Miami Dolphins saying, okay, this isn't our guy. But honest to goodness, though, that's not all Tua's fault. That's the GM's fault. That's why the GM got fired down there. You know that. Okay, no, I won't make that joke yet because we're talking about Tua. If he goes to the proper organization and goes to an offensive line that can protect him, he has a chance. But in my opinion, the cart has already the horse has already left without the cart. He's definitely not the player he was when he started. Those first couple of years with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, they were great. They were wonderful years. I mean, they made it all the way to the playoffs and then got bounced in the first round. But they still made it, and they had some really dynamic playmakers. So, the kid has talent. The man has talent for sure. But he took one too many hits to the head, and we've seen him throw up those gang signs all throughout the years. More than once, and for the love of God, he doesn't know how to slide properly. So it's like, so I'm skeptical. I mean, I'm open to the idea that it's possible, but I'm skeptical because, brother, he's gotten the heck beat out of him so much that it's probably not worth it.
Yeah, a lot of people questioning about whether or not he should have retired and so on and so forth. We're going to find out if what goes on with Tua. I'm sure he's going to continue playing. It's just a matter of where. Mm-hmm. Where is he going to be in 2026? If I'm him and the Dolphins are talking about, they're going to let him go, dude, just get out of there. Get out of town.
Pack your bags and go.
Yeah.
Get out of Dodge.
Go. Yeah, there are better options out there for a guy who's had, like you said, significant head injuries and whatever the case may be, better places where he can be protected. There's better places. So, and also, speaking of quarterbacks, we're talking about quarterbacks that are likely getting moved on from. Let's talk about the Cardinals likely to move on from Kyler Murray this offseason. There are suitors out there for him. Right now, they're talking about Kyler Murray possibly being with the Minnesota Vikings, so we could see that happen. Kyler Murray's another one. He struggled with the injury bug in the last couple of years, but again, not a ton of protection over there on that offensive line. The guy's not the biggest dude in the world. He's been running for his life. I know we've made jokes on here about, double XP weekends and all that stuff.
Yep, absolutely.
But at the end of the day, when it comes to Kyler Murray, all the attitude stuff aside and the size stuff, he still has proven to be a very good quarterback in this league. If you recall, he actually went on. I mean, they were 8-0 one year, and then it all just kind of fell apart. It was just interesting to see how that happened. But I think Kyler Murray with the right team, we talk about team and scheme all the time on this show. Right team, right scheme. We could be having a different conversation about Kyler Murray and how successful he's going to be at the NFL level.
Yeah, absolutely. And the deal with that is it depends on where he goes. It's been talked about on this show where Minnesota should give him a call, because we all know J.J. McCarthy ain't it. And Sam Darnold was it, but the Vikings decided to let him go. You've made it successful when your first team after your last one, you win a Super Bowl and you get your ex-GM fired. So more on that. But there are, like you said, there are still other options for Kyler Murray. The Indianapolis Colts could possibly be a good landing spot. If Pittsburgh cannot retain the services of Aaron Rodgers, why didn't Pittsburgh go get Kyler Murray? We could do that. Maybe have him slide on over to the New York Giants. Even though the quarterback whose name escapes me, Jackson Dart. If Jackson Dart continues to pull the start, that might not be an ideal situation. But at least he's a veteran backup. But what might be a good fit for him, and a lot of people are gonna laugh at this one at first. But if you think about it, given what they've started to do, the New York Jets might actually be a decent fit for Tua Tagovailoa or Kyler Murray. Tua, because of the fact that the Jets, we just got done having a guy that was on our Rookie of the Year list, sitting at right tackle, right, in Armand Membu. So they've done a really good job at trying to create a better situation there for their quarterbacks. Kyler has the scrambling ability, which you like, but he's also got a decent arm. He's actually halfway accurate. So, I like that. Tua is accurate. He's just not as mobile as you would prefer. So if you're going to have a statuesque quarterback, he might struggle unless you really go full-blown offensive line this offseason to correct the issues on that team. But the Jets have other issues too, as far as their secondary goes, as far as correcting some of the problems, in their defense now, because they made it a point to trade away to a lot of defensive players, a lot of really good defensive players, guys like Sauce Gardner, et cetera. So they made those moves. But the Cardinals, if they move on from Kyler Murray, they're going to be kind of looking for a quarterback in this draft, I would assume. Diego Pavia, is kind of to me, a lateral move for them because of the fact that Kyler Murray and Diego Pavia kind of are very similar to one another. But the Cardinals have other issues going on coaching-wise. They interviewed the Rams assistant head coach and defensive passing game coordinator, Aubrey Pleasant, for the defensive coordinator job, which I think would have been a great fit. And then instead, they decide to retain their current defensive coordinator, Nick Rallis, as their defensive coordinator. He's been their defensive coordinator since 2013. The Cardinals' defense has sucked. Yeah.
I don't understand why you would retain the dude. He was running the Jonathan Gannon system. Their defense wasn't good. Make it make sense. I don't like this. It
is definitely head scratching. And we saw how bad that Cardinals defense was throughout the year. That Cardinals Titans game in particular was a masterclass in stupidity when it came to defense.
Oh yeah.
When Cam Ward throws an interception and then the interception gets fumbled into the end zone and the offensive player falls onto it for a touchdown. That's Keystone Cops level of football right there. And that's so. And you're keeping the guy. What are we doing here?
Yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I don't like that move. I think it's silly. The Cardinals are basically creating a situation for themselves where they're going to be in dire straits with that defense. They have Walter Nolan over there, but the guy can't stay healthy, right? They picked him up in the first round. And he hasn't been healthy all year. They have a few good pieces, but they have some aging pieces over there. Guys like Budda Baker, who he's still playing at a high level, but eventually, we say on this show, Father Time does no jobs.
Right.
And here we are.
The wheels are gonna fall off sooner than later.
Yeah. So, I mean, Buda Baker getting older, guys like that, they're going to need to do some real work on the defensive side of the football. And I don't know that bringing back Rallis, was the smartest move they could have made, especially given the fact that they had an opportunity to poach a guy off of the Rams staff that actually has been really, really good for the Rams for a while there. So,
Right.
Other things happening around the league. Let's talk about some of these other moves. First of all, the Vikings, they go out and fire their offensive line coach, Chris Cooper, after 4 seasons. And then the Eagles go ahead and hire him as their offensive line coach. I don't understand this move for the Eagles. I like it for the Vikings because this guy's been getting a pass for a while. And frankly, as a Vikings fan, I don't think he's that good. And he goes to the Eagles, and the Eagles have the personnel, I guess, to be a good offensive line, obviously, but I don't think this is the right fit for them.
No, I don't think so either. And do you really need somebody other than your current offensive line coach? I mean, you have some of the best players in the NFL playing on the offensive line. Usually we make the joke that, the rich get richer when Philadelphia keeps picking up these pieces here and there. But this time they just kind of found a dirt smudged ring on the side of the road, and it's not a Super Bowl ring.
Yeah, they're trying to take it to the pawn shop. It doesn't make much sense to me. I don't like that pickup at all. Other guys getting picked up around the league. Let's talk about the Falcons making some moves. They go out and hire Chase Blackburn as their assistant special teams coach. Previously, he was the special teams coordinator for the Rams before being terminated in December 20th. We were, my wife and I were out for ice cream.
Go ahead.
When this happened. My wife and I were out for ice cream when this happened, and I was flabbergasted, but it was a couple missed field goals, and that was about all she wrote for him. And it was a little surprising that it happened so late in the season, but here we are.
Those were very, very important kicks that were missed, that had playoff implications. So, at the same time, I do think it's a bit of a knee-jerk reaction, and the Falcons, kind of pounced on it. So good on them. I think it's I don't think it, it's not a dire situation for the Rams to let this guy go, but I mean, different strokes for different folks, I guess. But in my opinion, you didn't need to be so quick to throw the guy under the bus. I mean, maybe it felt right in the moment, but you sit here looking back going, well, maybe I shouldn't have fired that guy.
Yeah, they go and fire him I believe it was a Thursday night football matchup where the kicker there missed 3 kicks. I mean, and then it was we're changing coordinators. Well, sometimes that happens.
That does happen. I mean, 3 misses. Yeah. Oof, that's no good.
It happens. Also, the Falcons go out and hire Ricky Manning as the assistant defensive backs coach for the team. Formerly, he was the Raiders corner coach in 2024. I don't like that hire at all.
Yeah, I don't. That just stinks. It just smells really bad.
Yeah, I don't like that.
I'm sorry I don't have anything more eloquent for you, but I mean, but it fits.
It's the truth. I mean, the Raiders defense has been bad for a while. It's why would you hire anybody from that staff? It doesn't make sense to me. And also the Falcons hire LaTroy Lewis as their new defensive line coach. He's formerly the defensive line coach for the University of Toledo. I'm actually not mad at this hire. I think it's a big jump up for LaTroy Lewis, but Toledo notoriously has had really good defenses. So I'm not necessarily upset with this move at all. Are you?
Maction division, stand up. Boots loves his Maction over here. The Bootleg Bettor couldn't join us this evening because they're working him super hard. But our thoughts go out to you, my brother, and we'll. But I'll tell. But yes, I mean, you take a look at some of these schools, and they kind of float under your radar. And with this guy having the opportunity to really step his game up, to go from an FCS or a MAC college to the NFL. I mean, I'm pulling for him. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, and I think he's going to do just fine. Toledo, like I said, I mean, they notoriously have had good defenses. This is another one of those guys that you pull them up from a spot. They got a pedigree for good defense, just good overall, good defensive line, good corners. You got to like what they do over there. And then the Falcons, we got to talk about this because we're on the topic of the Falcons.
Oh,
rookie
boy.
edge rusher James Pierce Jr. He has been arrested or was arrested on 5 felony counts, I believe over the weekend here. Per ESPN, Pierce was arrested on Saturday in Florida on 5 felony charges, including aggravated battery with a deadly weapon, aggravated stalking, and aggravated battery of a law enforcement officer. He was released from the Turner Guilford Night Correctional Center on Sunday night after posting a $20,500 bond. Jackson, who plays for the LA Sparks, so this is the girlfriend. He was stalking his girlfriend. She plays for the LA Sparks, apparently. And hang on, I'm losing my spot here. She saw Pierce following her car in a white Lamborghini SUV on Saturday morning. When Jackson's car stopped at a red light, Pierce got out of his vehicle and attempted to open her car door on the driver's side. She accelerated away and started driving toward the Doral Police Department in Florida. Pierce re-entered his vehicle and continued following her. During the drive to the police station, Jackson said Pierce intentionally collided into the rear of her vehicle with his SUV. As she got into the intersection near the police station, Jackson said Pierce cut her off with his car. When she attempted to back out and get away, he used his car to collide with hers head on. The affidavit stated that the photographs of Jackson's vehicle showed damage consistent with her account. Doral police officers responded. They saw Pierce standing on the outside of his SUV on the driver's side with the door open. An officer pulled a gun on Pierce and ordered him to get on the floor. Pierce got back in his car and closed the door. The officer opened the door, but Pierce shut it again, locked it, and drove away. And then while Pierce was driving away, the SUV struck the officer on his left knee. The affidavit describes it as intentionally in attempt to evade arrest. Police followed Pierce's vehicle in cars until Pierce crashed at an intersection. Pierce then got out of his car and fled on foot. Officers were able to catch up with him, though Pierce, quote unquote, began to resist arrest by tensing his arms and not allowing officers to apprehend him. The affidavit says Pierce was triaged on scene and later taken to the Jackson West Medical Center for further assessment. He spent Saturday night and most of the day on Sunday in custody at the Turner Guilford Night Correction Center. Pierce is facing 2 felony counts of aggravated battery with a deadly weapon and a felony count of aggravated stalking. Other charges include fleeing and eluding police officers, and aggravated battery of a law enforcement officer, also felonies, and a misdemeanor count of resisting an officer without violence to his person. Pierce was also given 9 traffic citations as a result of the chase, per the incident report obtained by ESPN from the Doral Police Department. Those were reckless driving with damage to a person or property, operating on the wrong side of the road, fleeing or attempting to elude a law enforcement officer, lack of obedience to police and fire department officials, turning right from the wrong lane, failure to yield or stop at a stop sign, which he did that twice, a driver's safety belt violation, and cutting across private property to avoid traffic. Per the incident report, Pierce had $15,422.85 in cash in the vehicle at the time of the incident, as well as a Hard Rock Unity membership card and a chip from the Hard Rock Casino, among other.
Yeah. So the feed on my side of the team's call is frozen. So we're gonna just give it like a couple of seconds. But my friends and family, after listening to that account, we only have 3 words to say. You big dummy.
To shape a narrative that it is hardly full of.
Yeah, I mean, it's there is that's a lot to unpack, and I gotta tell you, it's, you know, people. I don't know what's going on there. I mean, it's It's pretty crazy. I mean, we've spent this entire year going over some of the things that Rashee Rice has done. We've had other athletes that Jordan Addison was a big pain in the tuchus all year.
Here's my thing. We just got done with the whole, for example, Henry Ruggs. We just got done with the whole Henry Ruggs vehicular homicide situation or manslaughter or whatever he got convicted. The guy was just in prison for a vehicular issue where he was drunk driving, he killed the lady and her dog, all kinds of stuff. This guy, now we're talking, stalking? Really? He told the police, the lady tells the police that she and Pierce dated for about 3 years, but recently ended their relationship. She blocked Pierce's phone number to avoid contact with him, but he used an alternate number to text her. A Friday afternoon text from Jackson told Pierce to leave her alone and that she wanted nothing to do with him. The text messages from Pierce continued from Friday until Saturday morning. Jackson showed the messages to police. And then a quote from the Brian McCarthy says, "We've been in contact with the club regarding the matter, which will be reviewed under the personal conduct policy per the NFL. The Falcons issued a statement Saturday night saying they were gathering more information." This is kind of it's becoming a situation where it's like, hey, James Pierce, that's about all she wrote for your NFL career. That's really bad.
Yeah, at this point, it's like, who's going to want to hire you? Who's going to want to sign you? Who's going to want to, who's going to want you? It's so like that's way too much off the field BS. And we've had a couple of master classes in off the field BS, like I mentioned before, but this takes the cake in my opinion. It definitely had the most information I've heard.
Yeah, this is we don't usually get like news stories of this level where when it comes in, this was very particular about what in the hell was going on. They dated. He basically assaulted her. Vehicles can be they're viewed as deadly weapons. Like, people have to understand that. So not only did he ram her car twice, and once in the front, rammed at her car head on, allegedly. I'll use the word allegedly because that's what the report is saying. So allegedly rammed her car from behind, allegedly rammed her car from the front, allegedly violated 9 violations driving. It's like, holy shit. What are we doing?
It's like an episode of Grand Theft Auto, for crying out loud.
Yeah. It just went off the deep end, just insanity. Basically is going to, and he's coming off a great year. If you recall, I think he was number 3 in defensive rookie of the year voting. This dude had himself a really good rookie year. So it makes you wonder, what in the hell is going on? This is like Antonio Brown level shit here.
Oh yeah,
that
is not a comp you want on your resume.
No, this is bad. This is really bad. So James Pierce, we're gonna see. He might not even be a player next year. He might end up being suspended for the season. He might be out of the league in general. We've seen players, get dumped out of the league for stuff like this. It's just like, wow. Just wow, flabbergasting. But the Falcons, they're gonna have to deal with that as the time comes. Elsewhere around the league, speaking of Falcons guys, we've had the Bucs going interdivision, signing multiple Falcons former coaches. Let's go ahead and talk about, first of all, they hired T.J. Yates as their passing game coordinator. He's the former Falcons passing game coordinator and wide receivers coach. So, T.J. Yates, former player, if you recall, former quarterback in the NFL. Now he's here. He used to play for the Houston Texans, if I'm not mistaken. Now he's here as the passing game coordinator and quarterbacks coach for the Tampa Bay Bucs. I don't know what's up with the interdivision hires. They also went and hired Ken Zampese as the senior offensive assistant. He was the senior offensive assistant for the Falcons last year as well. So the Bucs just kind of reaching across state lines there and saying, hey, come work for us.
I mean, we are starting to see that it's a little more common. I mean, interdivisional trading seems to be, it used to, I can't say whether it was taboo back in the old days. Maybe you might have a better indication of that. But I do notice that over the past couple of years that is a much more common thing. It's like Boots said last episode. If you can't beat them, join them.
Yeah, or hire them.
Yeah, right.
And what's interesting about it, and what might make sense of it is, you play these guys twice a year, right? Mm-hmm. You're the Tampa Bay Bucs. You play the Falcons twice a year. You might see something that you like. That coach was pretty darn good, or, oh, hey, that player was all right. Maybe we can go snag him up. He'll be a free agent this year. Sometimes you're going to see something that you like playing a team twice a year, and you've played them for 3 years. That Dan Quinn's staff was over there. Not Dan Quinn, Raheem Morris's staff, rather. Dan Quinn's a long time ago. Raheem Morris's staff is over there, so you've gotten to see them for the last couple of years. And you're like, okay, I can see who I like and who I don't like off that staff. So it sort of makes sense, but it's just a little surprising. Normally, you don't see stuff like that. The Bucs also, they go out and hire Andrew Whitmer as their assistant offensive line coach. He's the former Oklahoma State offensive line coach. Interesting hire, but if you remember, OK State, pretty darn good rushing team. This might be helpful to the Tampa Bay Bucs, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, then they got to have somebody to give to help Bucky Irving get his juice back. He was on pace to have a great year this year, and then injuries kind of got in the way. And the name of the other running back escapes me at the moment, but I know that when Bucky Irving went down, this other guy really started to step up. I'm gonna actually look him up while we're doing
Rashad White.
Yes, Rashad. Yes, Rashad White.
Yep, Rashad White and Sean Tucker, for that matter. Yeah, both those guys, they had a little bit of a committee approach going on there for a minute. Sean Tucker actually came alive in a couple of games there, where he broke off huge games for over 100 yards. He was phenomenal. Also, the Bucs go out and hire Chandler Whitmer as their quarterbacks coach. He's the former Indiana Hoosiers co-offensive coordinator and a quarterbacks coach. So that national championship team is getting guys hired, getting them some jobs here. You got to like that. You saw what he did with Fernando Mendoza. If you recall, Mendoza, former 2-star recruit. You see what happens. He's getting ready to go number 1 overall. Something tells me that guy deserves a job, right?
Yes, sir. And it's been a theme over here at the Outside Blitz, at least at this side of the bench. Excuse me. Where we're highlighting Indiana players, almost every week, every episode. Yeah. It's like every one of our prospects so far, whether it's offensive tackles or offensive linemen, and we're doing wide receivers this week. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, I mean, the University of Indiana has been really well represented, in our off-season shows, and it's for good reason. This is more than just a national championship team. This is a team that was slow. It had its ups and downs, but mostly downs. And then Kurt Cignetti comes in and basically, turns the entire culture completely around. And, has them have a undefeated season, a true undefeated season, especially in those last stretch.
And what's worth mentioning is he did it all without 5-star recruits.
Yep.
That's the thing that should stand out to people, is not only did they turn that team around, but they did it with recruits that weren't 5-star guys. And he was able to exploit a lot of things that they did well. He was able to say, oh, well, this guy, he's a possession receiver. We'll be talking about that in a minute here. But, he was able to take their skill set, and make it worthwhile. And you see certain guys that were phenomenal. We saw Kalen Black, for example. I mean, yep. we got to see what he was capable of. We got to see what Fernando Mendoza can do throwing out of the pocket. And it was phenomenal to see what Cignetti was able to do, and how he was able to take their skill sets and apply it to what he was doing over there in his offensive scheme. And now you see your quarterbacks coach, and going over to be a quarterbacks coach for the Atlanta Falcons, where Michael Penix recently has struggled in the last year. I mean, the year before, year one, he was fine, but year two, he struggled, and he had some injury problems as well. But he mostly just struggled, and he got benched, if you recall. And then Kirk Cousins came in, and they were playing the hokey pokey between him and Cousins and who was going to be the starter. And So we're going to find out if this guy is for real. And then also an interesting one. I'm sorry, but this is going to be a help to Baker Mayfield rather, because, coming over to the Bucs rather, as a quarterback coach. And also the Bucs go out and hire former Rutgers defensive back Todd Bowles Jr., the son of Todd Bowles, the head coach, as their defensive assistant. Interesting.
Nepotism?
Yeah, a little bit there.
I mean, here the opinion I have on that is, if you have kin or siblings who are familiar with the game, and especially who have played, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But can you bring that level of success and hold your family members accountable like you would anybody else? That's the big question we always have with that kind of stuff. Sometimes it's worked out, sometimes it hasn't.
Yeah. We've seen that. I mean, Clint Kubiak and his dad, Gary Kubiak, we've seen that on the same coaching staff. It hasn't worked out so well. I mean, it's kind of interesting. So we're going to see how things like that work out. But this seems silly to me. Mm-hmm. It's just giving a guy way, way, way too much, way, way, way too early. Mm-hmm. I know you got to get your start somewhere, but most guys start, high school, college, coaching. You don't just get sucked up as a Rutgers DB to being a coach, a defensive assistant in the NFL.
That's a bit of a jump.
Yeah, that's a stretch. Speaking of coaches, associated with Curt Cignetti getting starts, the Steelers have named Frank Cignetti Jr., the brother of Curt Cignetti, as the senior offensive assistant, which is interesting. He was at the Indiana University of Pennsylvania football team, the Crimson Hawks over there, as the offensive coordinator. Now he comes in as the senior offensive assistant. Frank Cignetti Jr., interesting pickup here. Do you think it was off of namesake, or do you think that a phone call was made? What do you make of this?
Well, there's no doubt that a phone call was made, but at the same time, Curt Cignetti to me sounds like a guy who would recommend somebody based on merit, based on his character. That's another thing that benefits the Indiana team is, he had an unwavering respect for the game, and he had an unwavering commitment to winning. Like, he never really, smiled too quickly. And with Fred, his brother going to the Pittsburgh Steelers, again, I'll believe it when I see it. But I'm optimistic that, that it'll be a positive aspect. Words are hard.
There's a lot to unpack there. It's kind of an interesting decision. Hopefully for their sake, it works out for them. It's just one of those things where, man, you're taking a guy up from Indiana University of Pennsylvania. Like, it's not like you're taking a guy, that came from Penn State or something. It's right. That's a big jump.
It says here you're from the University of Indiana. Oh wait, that was in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, got questions.
That doesn't have. It's not the flex you think it is.
Exactly. They also go out and name Jari Evans as the assistant offensive line coach with the Steelers. He was formerly the Saints offensive line coach. I'm not entirely mad at that. I'm not going to lie. I think that the Saints offensive line has been relatively good given the circumstances.
Calvin Banks.
They've got some guy. Yeah, they got some guys there that turned out all right. I actually like this hire a lot for the Steelers, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we saw how good Calvin Banks was down the stretch with the New Orleans Saints. So, and, you got to build up that running game. I mean, the running game in Pittsburgh hasn't been too bad. Jaylen Warren has definitely been a positive for them. And the other guy who had a huge the other running back whose name escapes me at the very moment, he's at the tip of my tongue, but he had a heck of a game in London, of all places. It was overseas.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Hey, I don't know why his name is because he used to play for the Eagles.
Okay, well, I'm gonna throw that in the Google machine real quick. But while we're doing that, to have this gentleman come up, it's a good idea to hire this guy to help out with.
I think as an offensive line coach, he's been good. He helped develop a young man in Kelvin Banks who turned out to be one of the guys that was on our rookie list last year. He was excellent. He's developed really good offensive linemen for the Saints. I don't know why the Saints would let him go. Seems silly, but he goes over to Pittsburgh and he winds up in a position with the Pittsburgh Steelers where they actually have really good offensive line over there.
And the running back's name is Kenneth Gainwell, and that guy's come on.
That's
right. That because you're right. He did spend some time in Philly, so there's Kenneth Gainwell, Caleb Johnson, and obviously Jaylen Warren. Good on him. That if Rodgers doesn't work out, if they can't hold on to Aaron Rodgers, they got at least the quarterback who replaces him, whether it's Will Howard or if they get somebody in the draft. We can have good faith that quarterback will get some decent protection.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Elsewhere around that division, the Ravens making moves. They named Marcus Brady as their passing game coordinator. Previously, he was the passing game coordinator for the Chargers. Little surprised that the Chargers let him walk. Not entirely surprised, though, because they kind of like to trade between Ravens and Chargers when it comes to coaches and coordinators. Even with John Harbaugh not there, it seems like they have a free trade of coaches and whatnot.
Well, keep in mind, too, that the Ravens picked up Jesse Minter, the Chargers defensive coordinator, as their new head coach. Yeah. And Jesse Minter and Jim Harbaugh worked together at Michigan. So, they know each other very well. So I think the move to Jesse Minter was actually a lateral move. So it doesn't surprise me a whole lot that more Charger staff are finding their way on the Ravens sidelines.
Yeah, and then one that was kind of interesting, the Ravens have named Joe Lombardi their senior offensive assistant. He was previously the offensive coordinator for the Denver Broncos, if you recall. Mm-hmm. The Broncos let him go after the AFC title game debacle. He goes over. I think that was stupid on the part of the Broncos.
No, ridiculously stupid. First of all, that wasn't Joe Lombardi's fault. That was partially Bo Nix's fault for breaking his foot. Although that wasn't really his fault either. It was just a case of dumb luck. You basically, you basically, crossed a black cat on a full moon, and here we are. Now all of a sudden you're staring down the barrel of the New England Patriots with Jarrett Stidham and a blizzard.
Yeah, it seemed silly to me. I didn't like this idea that they were going to just move on from Lombardi, and now Lombardi goes over to a situation with the Ravens where, hey, he's going to have a ball over there with Lamar Jackson and company, and you got Derrick Henry over there still.
That big, nasty wrecking ball. Whoo.
Yep, you got Zay Flowers, and heaven forbid they go out and re-sign Tyler Linderbaum to a long-term deal. That offense is going to be great over there, and Lombardi's going to have a blast.
Yeah, listen, Baltimore, if you're listening right now, you need to re-sign Tyler Linderbaum to a big deal. Otherwise, he's going to be a great help for a different team.
Yeah, he's going to be huge. Also, let's go ahead and talk about the Ravens. Interesting promotion here. They go out and promote Anthony Levine to special teams coordinator. He was formerly the assistant special teams coach. Obviously, they had the whole thing with Tyler Loop. I don't know that I like this move either. Tyler Loop, if it was me, just retain your special teams coordinator at that point. I understand Tyler Loop missed a field goal. It was a big field goal for a rookie to have to make, in a playoff situation, an elimination game, because it basically was a play. I know I understand it's week 18, but it was basically playoffs at that point, right?
Pretty much.
You got to win out. Mm-hmm. So you're basically in a playoff game, and he misses it wide left. And I realize he missed it wide left, but just if you're going to just promote from within.
I mean, it was right, but still, no. The point is, you're right though. It's not Tyler Loop's fault. I mean, again, you got dealt the bad hand. You know, I mean, your job is to make that kick. I mean, I will say that straight up. And Tyler Loop didn't do his job. But, you know, do you really like fire your special teams coordinator and bring up your assistant so the guy kind of fails upwards?
Lateral move.
Yeah, lateral move.
You did nothing. You did nothing to help the situation. If you were going to actually go out and do something to help the situation, you're going to go out and get a different special teams coordinator. Just make it make sense at that point. I think that's so silly on their part.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
yep. And then also let's talk about the Ravens entering a contract extension negotiation with Lamar Jackson. I feel like we just got done with contract negotiations with Lamar. He's currently signed through 2027. So he's got the 2026 and 2027 season. I mean, I guess I can get behind him getting in front of it early, but I'm also kind of like, wait a minute now. Didn't you just get done with this not too long ago? I feel like this is still very fresh. It's a very fresh contract where he was made the highest paid quarterback in football not too long ago.
Yep.
And now we're right back to where we were negotiating contracts with Lamar Jackson again. What is going on?
So here's my thought process on that. Basically, you have 2 more years to get your Super Bowl quarterback to the Super Bowl. You know, if the Ravens were in any position to be in quote unquote win now, I mean, but here's the other problem with that. They've been in win now for the past 3 years. And obviously this year wasn't a great start because they started 1-5. They also had one of the most brutal schedules in the league. You know, so it's not entirely Lamar's fault. It's not entirely the Ravens' fault, but you do have to win those games early on. And they were still able to claw their way back and come within a field goal of making the playoffs and the AFC North. So, you know, I mean, you have the talent, but, you know, every year, what have we kept saying? You know, Lamar's good for the playoffs, but when it comes to nut cutting time, you know, who do you turn to? And we don't turn to Lamar. And it's been this long, and you're still on the outside looking in? Brother, I think it might be time to move on from Lamar.
Yeah, he'll get you to the tournament. He'll definitely get you to the tournament. But then after that, you're on your own. You know, it's troublemaking. It's trouble time there when he gets into the actual playoff tournament. He's going to struggle. It's not going to be fun. It's not going to be fun. It's going to be ugly. And I have yet to see playoff Lamar, like good playoff Lamar, show up. I have yet to see that. He hasn't done that his entire career. I've been waiting to see that out of Lamar Jackson. So we're going to see if that'll happen, and we'll see if the Ravens wind up giving him an extension. Kind of an interesting thing. Also around the division here, let's talk about the Cleveland Browns.
And we're the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, the Browns have an issue with their all-pro tight end David Njoku announcing he is not re-signing with the Browns. After 9 seasons. He says it's quote-unquote time to find a new home. The Browns already picked up Harold Fannin Jr., who actually had himself a really nice season for them. Kudos to him on that. He was definitely a red zone threat. But they're going to have to find themselves another tight end here to complement Harold Fannin Jr. This is a big loss for Cleveland, losing David Njoku, don't you think?
Big time loss. I mean, really, at this point, you just got to go into the draft and hope for the best. And, you know, 9 seasons and it's time to move on. I can't say I'm overly surprised because, I mean, let's face facts. You played for the Cleveland Browns. One of the worst.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah, so you and I are in lockstep when it comes to this. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, it's like if I really want to get to the next level, I can't stay in Cleveland. Can't do it. You know, which is sad because, you know, the Cleveland needs all the help they can get. But, you know, David Njoku saw the writing on the wall. And the question now becomes, where does he land?
Yeah, he's going to land somewhere that there are plenty of tight end needy teams out there, and there's going to be some teams that are moving on from veteran tight ends. For example, my Minnesota Vikings likely moving on from T.J. Hawkinson, I'm assuming. But it's going to be something to watch where Njoku lands. He could go back to New England. If you recall, he did have some time in New England. So I want to see what happens with Njoku. The Browns have requested to interview former Giants interim DC Charlie Bullen, and will interview Aubrey Pleasant as well. I don't like that at all either. Why are you interviewing somebody from an inept Giant staff that just got fired? I make it make sense.
Well, half the problem is they dug themselves into a hole by not promoting Jim Schwartz to the head coaching position, and Jim Schwartz got so mad he walked out on the organization. I mean, this is yet another, government cheese organizational failure. So, you're really putting yourself behind the eight ball with your half-baked decisions. So if everybody, whoever is a Cleveland fan out there, you probably already know this. Why does my team suck every year? It's management. It's ownership. You get great players every once in a while. I mean, Baker Mayfield was your guy for a few years. Then he skipped town, or the Browns let him skip town, rather. So I'm like, you've had incompetent head coaches like Hugh Jackson, who could forget that guy? And, it's just a multitude of suck, from generation to generation. And it's so frustrating. Just as an NFL football fan, I mean, I can't imagine what it's like to be a Cleveland Browns fan. Sometimes you have to laugh at the stuff or you'll cry.
Yep. And just a quick correction. Njoku didn't play for the Patriots. He's been playing for the Browns this whole time. I don't know why I said that. I'm thinking of somebody else that played.
Maybe we want to see Njoku go to the Patriots. Who knows?
Maybe
he would be a perfect complement to Hunter Henry. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I don't know why I believe there was a tight end that was playing for the Patriots at some point that came from the Browns, but I'll have to try and remember that one off the top of my head. But in any case, David Njoku, I mean, Patriots would be a good fit for him, I believe. I think the New York Jets would be a good fit for him. They need just about everything. I could definitely see him going to the Raiders to complement Brock Bowers. There are landing spots for David Njoku, and there's going to be teams. How about the New Orleans Saints? Yeah. I think that would be a great fit for him at this current point in time.
Hey, Brad.
A tight end.
Hey, Brad, get on the phone. Detroit could use a tight end if, I mean, we have Sam Laporta, we have Brock Wright, but I think we could probably do with a high-name tight end like David Njoku.
And speaking of the Giants and interesting head coaching hires, they go out and hire the ex-Titans head coach Brian Callahan as their offensive coordinator and passing game coordinator. So here's the thing that gets me about this hire. We talked about this when Brian Callahan got hired to the Titans. He came from the Cincinnati Bengals as their offensive coordinator. But the Cincinnati Bengals have a head coach and Zach Taylor over there who we know is calling the offense. So why did Brian Callahan get enough credit to go to the Tennessee Titans and get hired on as a head coach when he wasn't even the guy calling the shots on the offense? It was Zach Taylor the whole time. And now that we got to see how inept he was over there with the Tennessee Titans, he goes and is getting looked at by the New York Giants and gets hired?
Well, listen, in their defense, it's the New York Giants. I mean,
fair.
I mean, that's kind of why I had those, like, when I saw John Harbaugh went to the Giants, there was a feeling in the pit of my stomach. I was like, oh, don't tell me you're going to the Giants. But man, so yeah, no. So why were they doing it? It's the Giants.
We talk about it all the time, though. We talk about these coordinators that they get named an offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator, whatever the case may be, and realistically, they're just figureheads. They're just there, you know, and the head coach, like it's kind of like, oh, okay, like Jesse Minter, I can kind of get behind. He's shown his mettle in different places as defensive coordinator and shown that he knows what he's talking about. Same with Mike McDonald. We saw that. But then you see certain guys, they go out and they get hired. Raheem Morris, for example, you know, like, why are you a head coach? You shouldn't be a head coach. Raheem Morris should, to me, Raheem Morris is questionable as a defensive coordinator. Mm-hmm. But the only reason he got hired is because he won a Super Bowl. You know, there are certain guys out there that are getting hired, and they were figureheads in that spot.
Yep.
Okay, you're an offensive coordinator, but you're under Zach Taylor. Okay, you're an offensive coordinator, but you're under Kevin O'Connell. Okay, you're a special teams coordinator, but you're under John Harbaugh. You know, like you're under these guys that are already the guys that are calling the shots. So why?
So what are you doing
hiring
there?
This person.
What are you doing there?
It makes no sense.
It's a waste of money.
Yeah,
they're just stealing money at this point.
Yeah. Interesting stuff here too. The Commanders, they go out and sign Eric Henderson as their defensive line coach and run game coordinator. I like this one. He was formerly the USC Trojans co-defensive coordinator and defensive line coach. So I like that a lot. The USC defense, recruiting wise, for the last several years has been questionable. But if you look at what they did this past year in their front seven, they actually were pretty damn good. Given the circumstances and given the fact that they didn't really have a whole lot of solid recruits over there. And I'm not just saying that as a USC guy because I am a USC Trojans fan. I'm just pointing this out. Hey, this is actually a pretty decent hire given the people that they had here. Also, Commanders, they signed all-pro punter Tress Way to a 1-year extension, keeping him with the team through 2026. I'm not mad at that. You know, we don't often get fired up about punter extensions, you know, but hey, you know what? You want all your drives to end with a kick, right? And Tress Way, he's a pretty damn good punter to have.
Well, the comment that I have about that is, you know, you want to talk about punts. I mean, this was a Super Bowl. We just got done with a Super Bowl where we basically were saying 2 words all night. We punt.
Yeah. I mean, that's basically what it is. And with the Commanders, I mean, you know, they've got a good punter over there. I'm happy keeping Tress Way if I'm the Commanders.
Yeah. I mean, also, he's done really well over there.
Here's an interesting one that I didn't quite like. Commanders hired DJ Williams as a quarterback coach. He's the former Falcons quarterback coach. Didn't really like that. If you remember, Kirk Cousins and company struggled this last year. Why are you hiring this guy as your quarterback coach? Doesn't make a lot of sense. Also, this one was kind of interesting. The Commanders hired Danny Etling as their assistant quarterback coach. He is the former Michigan Panthers quarterback from 2024 in the UFL, going into a quarterback coaching role with the Commanders. Interesting pickup. He wasn't a bad quarterback for the Panthers, the Michigan Panthers. My now defunct Michigan Panthers, which makes me so sad. Screw you, UFL. I won't be watching you because you got rid of my Michigan Panthers. But I digress. Here we are, you know, Danny Etling. Interesting hire, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you do find these diamonds in the rough, you know, in the UFL. And can we get a shout out for Rodrigo Blankenship? Why does that man not have a contract yet? I mean,
been wondering that for forever.
Yeah, I mean the man is a ridiculously talented kicker. I mean they got Jake Bates from the Michigan Panthers, and he got signed on to the Lions, and he had some clutch kicks, you know, throughout the years. So to have a quarterback coach come in, you know, who's played the position, you know, I have faith. You know, I mean, we really need to have somebody to guide Jaden Daniels and to get him to the next level, you know, obviously, and you know, to keep him safe, you know, because he's had some Jaden Daniels has had some injury troubles, so you really want to, you know, I'm not saying wrap him in bubble wrap, but get him an offensive line that can protect him.
Etling, you know, the interesting thing about Etling, he wound up, if I'm not mistaken, getting replaced last season. for the Michigan Panthers. I forget the gentleman who replaced him, but he was still a halfway decent quarterback. It's interesting that he's coming up from the UFL to be a quarterback's coach in the NFL. As a semi-pro player, I'm like, wow, that's again, kind of a jump. You would think that he would probably go back to college and be a college coach or try his hand there. I'm a little surprised that the Commanders are making that move, but we're seeing this more often than not, that they're taking kind of shots in the dark here and seeing what's going to happen. Other teams that are taking shots in the dark here, the Titans, they go out and hire and this one's not really a shot in the dark. The Titans hire former Giants head coach Brian Daboll as their new offensive coordinator. So that's official. And then they go out and hire the 49ers assistant head coach Gus Bradley as their defensive coordinator. So a couple of nice hires there by the Titans, putting together a pretty damn good coaching staff, if I do say so myself.
Yeah. I mean, Cam Ward definitely needs, the proper staff behind him to develop, because he basically petered out last year. If I'm not mistaken, he went number 1 overall this past year. So, he was impressive in Miami too, at the U, but we didn't really see hide or hair of Cam Ward all year. And really, the Titans organization in and of itself is a dumpster fire. I mean, we've said that on this show, but to get Brian Daboll, the guy that was able to really turn up Eli Manning, and also had kind of a hand in getting Jackson Dart a decent start.
Josh Allen over there in Buffalo, he fixed Josh Allen's mechanics. He's the whole reason he was over there with Josh Allen, did well, was over there with Jackson Dart, did well, fixed him. I mean, there's a lot that goes into what Brian Daboll is capable of. I think he's very capable. So I like what he's doing. And you talk about dumpster fire organizations. Let's talk about a dumpster fire organization. The Jets have officially announced the finalization of Aaron Glenn's coaching staff with the hiring of the following. First, we'll talk about linebackers coach Ben Bowling. He's the former Texans assistant linebacker coach. I like that hire. Safeties coach and defensive pass game coordinator Ryan Slowick. He held the same position with the Dolphins. I don't know why in the hell you would want to bring him in as a safeties coach and defensive pass game coordinator. The Dolphins secondary stunk. And you don't have Sauce either in the DBs. So, you're basically playing with your old Mother Hubbard with nothing in the cupboard. Yeah. Defensive assistant and Nichols coach, Ronald Booker. He's the former defensive quality control coach in Arizona. Again, just why?
Why?
Defensive assistant Colin Bauer. He was the Michigan Panthers defensive coordinator and defensive line coach in the UFL. I'm not entirely mad at the whole thing, but it's kind of an interesting hire given the circumstances. You would think that they would go after somebody with a little more experience at the NFL level. Quarterbacks coach, Bill Musgrave. He's the former Browns quarterback coach. Why? Tight ends coach, Alfredo Roberts. He's the former Steelers tight end coach. That one I can get behind. I'm okay with that. Offensive assistant and assistant quarterback coach, Thomas Merkel. He's the former Stanford quarterback coach. Why? Former, and here we go, assistant offensive line coach, Al Netter. He's the former Cardinals offensive line coach.
Why?
Exactly. Passing game coordinator, Seth Ryan. This one I kind of like. He's the former Lions tight end coach. I can get behind that. And then last but not least, the offensive assistant, Matthew Sargent. He's the former Stanford quarterback and wide receiver graduate head coach.
Why? What on earth has Stanford done in the last 2 or 3 years that means anything? I mean, the last time that Stanford was a relevant organization, Jim Harbaugh was the head coach and Andrew Luck was their quarterback. So, yeah, I mean, we haven't heard hide or hair of the Stanford Cardinals since.
Yeah, But here we are hiring half their staff. I don't get this. I don't understand these hires by Aaron Glenn. He's over here trying to revamp his staff, and he's picking, in my opinion, a lot of bottom of the barrel assistant coaches. I don't.
He's hitting up the clearance aisle at the dollar store.
Yeah, I don't get it. And then what gets me? Okay, so you have on one part of that division in the AFC East, you have that going on where they're hiring all these. I mean, what seems to me, and in my opinion, bargain bin assistant coaches. And then you go over here to that same division, and the Bills go out and hire, and get this. This one was a hell of a hire. They go out and hire John Fox as their senior assistant coach. He previously coached the Broncos to a Super Bowl in the 2013-2014 season. He was the head coach of the Panthers, where he led them to a Super Bowl appearance in 2003-2004. Yeah. And he's your senior offensive assistant or senior assistant coach? Like John Fox? That's a hell of a hire. I mean, and
I would argue that's a head coach right there.
Yeah.
With a pedigree like that, he's got 2 rings, for crying out loud. No, wait a minute.
Well, he doesn't have 2. He had the appearance. He doesn't have 2 rings, but he had 2 appearances.
He's still two AFC titles. Well, an AFC and an NFC. We get the point, though.
Yeah, you get the point. You had 2 Super Bowl appearances, is my point here. So you had 2 Super Bowl appearances in your coaching tenure. Guy's been there for what, 26 years, but as a head coach, he's got 2 Super Bowl appearances. I think that is a much more effective, a much more efficient hire than just about anything that the Jets did in their whole series of nonsense. It was like, what is this? You had an opportunity to, how about hire John Fox and say, hey, come be my defensive coordinator? Or, hey, John Fox, why don't you come be my offensive coordinator? Hey, John Fox, if I was the Jets, that would have been the first phone call I made. Oh, John Fox is out there? Yeah, why don't you come? Oh, hey, how about this? Hey, Jim Schwartz, why don't you come to New York and come be my defensive coordinator? Like, what are we doing here, New York?
I will say, in their, to their consternation, you do realize that the owner of the New York Football Jets is Woody Johnson, one of the most incompetent human beings in football.
Yeah,
this is an old man who decided not to trade for Jerry Jeudy because his Madden rating was too low. I mean, that story is going to stick with him for the rest of his life.
Yeah, and that's the big rumor, is that his son said his Madden rating was too low, and I'm like, that's it? That's why you didn't trade for this guy? It make sense if that's true. And Kristana, thank you for following us. Looks like you're now affiliated verified. Okay. Let's bounce that.
Yeah. I'll help you out with that.
Yeah. Got people bugging us on here. But in any case, at the end of the day, the Jets, they are known for making inept hires and inept signings. And like you said, Woody Johnson's a jackwagon. To me, it's like, okay. The Jets making stupid moves, and elsewhere in the division, you have your rivals making the brilliant moves. Also, let's go ahead and talk about Adam Gase. Speaking of the Jets, crazy eyes Adam Gase.
Yep.
We remember that, right?
We sure do.
Crazy eyes.
Absolutely.
Oh, man. The guy, and Shannon Sharp is like, he insisted Adam Gase was on something during that presser, but crazy eyes Adam Gase. And every time I do that, I'm just going to, I mean, he really looked like Bert from Sesame Street. If you look at that and you kind of make the comparison, but in any case, he's joining the Chargers as an assistant focusing on the passing game, according to Ian Rappaport. Gase has been out of the NFL since he was fired by the Jets in 2021. He previously was the head coach of the Dolphins from 2016 to about 2018, and he was an offensive coordinator in Denver and Chicago. But Adam Gase now joining the Chargers staff. Interesting decision, I guess. Interesting pickup. But I mean, hey, rock and roll to the Chargers, I guess. I don't know that I absolutely love Adam Gase being on my staff at any point in time, especially if I'm the Chargers and I'm kind of on the uptick. I don't know if I want cracked out Adam Gase there.
No. We had enough of him when he was when he had that presser with the Jets. So I'm like, at that point, I'm like, yeah, no thanks. Let's just move on. Let's just move on.
Yeah. And then the last coaching thing that took place is the Bears promoted passing game coordinator Press Taylor to offensive coordinator. I'm not entirely mad at it. And one of the reasons I'm not entirely mad at this is because of the fact that Press Taylor, we know Ben Johnson's calling the shots, right? We know this. Press Taylor kind of becomes, again, we talked about this guy that becomes kind of a figurehead in this situation. Ben Johnson's the offensive mind head coach. Press Taylor is a figurehead. I mean, that's kind of what he's going to be. He's just kind of there. You have a title. Congratulations.
I sense a new trend coming in the 2026-2027 season. We're gonna see how often we're using the word figurehead. Figurehead as an insult. That should be fun.
Also, some player news here. The Cowboys, they did place the franchise tag on wide receiver George Pickens. The rumors are that they're talking about even trading him in the offseason, though, even though they tagged him. So
that
that's
doesn't
an
make
interesting
any
call.
sense. Either tag him or trade him, but you can't do both.
Well, I think they want to trade him. They want to tag him and then send him out the door and at least get something for him. So I'm not entirely mad at it, but the question is who's going to trade for George Pickens on that big bloated salary, right? So we got questions about that, because if you're getting franchise tagged, if I'm not mistaken, you're getting like $21 million. So it's not bad for George Pickens, but then they're going to have to give him an extension wherever he goes to. He's going to want to get a big deal.
Yep.
So there's that. Also, the Lions running back, David Montgomery, he's possibly seeking a trade from the team. His fellow running back, Jahmyr Gibbs, says they would love to have him back, but
he doesn't really have he doesn't have Frank Ragnow to help him run up the gut anymore. As has been pointed out many, many times. So it would be sad to see Knuckles go. It would be sad to see Montgomery go, but at the same time, you have to understand, where you stand as a team, and you have to also you have to make business decisions. And really, I mean, you can't just hold on to the guy just because, he's part of your family, part of the culture. That's more that, we call, tongue in cheek call it the hippie drum circle, where, it's less business and more family, which there's nothing wrong with that. It's a great positive culture, but at the same time, I mean, you are running a business and you have to make some business decisions.
And we know there's some business decisions coming for the Detroit Lions, especially even with the salary cap popping up the way it did. I mean, by about $20 million this year, there are some business decisions that are going to be made, whether it becomes to Brian Branch, they already signed Kirby Joseph to a deal. You got to get Laporta signed to a deal. They're going to have to sign Gibbs to a big extension. There are business decisions that are going to be made here. You're going to have to find, if Taylor Decker decides to retire, you're going to have to find yourself a new offensive tackle. If you're going to go out and sign Tyler Linderbaum, you'd better do it this offseason, or else you're going to be in trouble. There are going to be big moves that they have to make. And not to mention, they just signed Aiden Hutchinson to that massive deal this season, and not enough people are talking about.
Yeah, you needed to do that. I mean, it's kind of a catch-22. You have to do it because he's pretty much your franchise edge rusher. He's kind of risen to past the level of a DeMarcus Lawrence or a Myles Garrett. He's basically, your franchise edge rusher, your franchise defensive player, your main dude. So, yeah, you do have to pay that man. But at the same time, it's
he's on that. He's on that level. He's on that level of being like, hey, this is my franchise guy, just like, like you said, Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, those types of guys. This is your defense. This is what your defense is built around right now.
Yep. But at the same time, you have to make sure that the other pieces can fit, both financially and schematically.
Yeah. And I mean, you've got linebacker decisions to make over there too. I think
Jack Campbell's
got a lot of things.
I think Jack Campbell's coming off his rookie deal.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. He is. He's got 1 year left, if I'm not mistaken. So there's an extension to be had. Also, Rams offensive tackle Robbie Havenstein retires after 11 seasons. So the Rams did lose him. He had himself a hell of a run there with the Rams, won himself a Super Bowl. Now he's out the door after 11 seasons. I won't do the singing like Boots does, but what we will say is good luck to Robbie Havenstein. Oh, God.
To the end of the road.
Okay, I tried to avoid it. I tried to avoid it.
We can't not have Boots karaoke on this show, even if Boots isn't here.
Oh,
I got to toe the line somehow.
Yeah, I guess. And then last but not least, let's talk about former Saints quarterback Derek Carr possibly coming out of retirement in 2026 if the proper situation presents itself. Minnesota has been floated as a potential destination. He said he's been flat out about the fact that he wants to play for a Super Bowl contender. And he won't come out of retirement if it's not for a Super Bowl contender. I would argue that the Vikings with a proper quarterback situation could be a potential Super Bowl contender. But here we are, Derek Carr possibly coming out of retirement. And I think Derek Carr in Minnesota would be a really good fit, to be honest with you, given the scheme that Kevin O'Connell runs. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, well, he's going to be miles better than J.J. McCarthy. I mean, it's been well documented that the kid's not it. If you were gonna have a quarterback that you were gonna get behind, it was gonna be Sam Darnold from last year. Even though we saw ghosts in the NFC in Week 18 against the Lions and saw ghosts in Los Angeles, during that playoff game, but he's corrected a lot of those issues after going to Seattle. So yeah, having a quarterback the caliber of Derek Carr on your sideline, is to hopefully pass on some veteran instincts to this McCarthy guy. But listen, if J.J. McCarthy's not much longer for the Minnesota, well, if they have a brain in their head, they'll either trade the guy or just get rid of him after his rookie deal's up. But, that's another reason why Kwesi got, thrown out the door, because we know Kevin O'Connell didn't want J.J. McCarthy. So, but now that you have Derek Carr, have the possibility of Derek Carr, we've also talked offline about how Kyler Murray would be a good fit in Minnesota. But I think that again, that's the caveat. A Super Bowl contender. The guy wants a ring, and he's well justified in seeking that out.
Yeah, and when it comes to Derek Carr, he's been to two bad organizations. I mean, let's face it. He was with Oakland, and then eventually Vegas, and then he goes to New Orleans, and then he has two bad situations, really. Yeah, and he didn't get the opportunity to play with Kellen Moore last year. He was sitting there with a former defensive coordinator that shouldn't have been a head coach in the first place. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then with Vegas, I mean, with the Raiders, it was just a shit show altogether. But if you looked at what he did in his time with Vegas, especially early on in his career, there was a period there where he was actually an MVP candidate one season because of how well he was playing. And I think that if he goes to an organization that's going to take care of him, if he goes to a proper organization that has a good offensive line, that has a good offensive scheme, that has good skills position players, because Lord knows the only guy that he had out there in New Orleans was Chris Olave, and he was hurt. If he goes to a situation like Minnesota, and one thing that Derek Carr, by the way, is really, really good at is throwing deep passes. That's something that Derek Carr is good at. He has a big arm for that. So if you look at what Kevin O'Connell does and what his scheme is, he likes long developing plays where the quarterback can hang tight in the pocket and deliver the football deep. There's nothing wrong with that as long as you give him the proper protection and you have a quarterback with the proper arm and the proper vision to get it done. I think Derek Carr would be a really good fit for the Minnesota Vikings given the circumstances. And if he was the guy, I totally wouldn't be upset about it. I wouldn't be mad at it. And just kind of see what it is. If it's going to be a Kevin O'Connell reclamation project, we'll find out. But I think that is, if I had to pick like the best fit possible, I think the Minnesota Vikings are the best fit possible for Derek Carr.
Yeah. I'm going to go out on a limb and be devil's advocate here and say that Minnesota would be a good fit. But the problem that you're running into is you have an interim GM that's going to be holding the fort down during the draft, and then you have to hire a real GM after the draft. So you're kind of behind the eight ball when it comes to that. As far as an organization that is considered to be a Super Bowl contender, I mean, I have an open mind. Bring him to Detroit. If Jared Goff suddenly goes down, look, I mean, it's kind of bad to see that, that Derek Carr is a backup quarterback because he's clearly a starter. So, I mean, that's one idea. But how about Pittsburgh? Again, if Pittsburgh cannot retain the services of Aaron Rodgers, have Derek Carr go to Pittsburgh. They have, a really decent team over in Pittsburgh, and they have a great running game. Now, then that might be a detriment because, again, if it's a run-first system and Derek Carr's a passing quarterback, you want a different. But, Pittsburgh's a great option for him, and even though we joke about it, I mean, shoot, have him go to the New York Football Jets. I mean, if he can really polish a turd like he did in Vegas, then and he has a Garrett Wilson, another standout from Ohio State. You can have that.
But he says he wants to go to a Super Bowl contender, and that's the thing. Like if Pittsburgh, I think makes a lot of sense.
The Jets are nowhere near Super Bowl contender. Now that I think about it, you're right. So,
but if you look at a situation, Minnesota, I would say they're about a quarterback away, and maybe a center. If you think about it, there's a couple other teams. Pittsburgh would be another one. They need a quarterback. Obviously, we have the Aaron Rodgers debacle going on right now about whether or not he's going to come back, and the discussions between him and Mike McCarthy and whatever else. How about Pittsburgh's still a decent fit?
How about Indianapolis?
And I like Indy, but the problem that Indy has is it's Shane Steichen. And whatever Shane Steichen likes to do over there, he likes to have a mobile quarterback. And that's what Daniel Jones is. And that's why I think Daniel Jones had been so successful over there this year. He was the poor man's Jalen Hurts is what he was. He figured it out to that extent where it was like, oh, okay, we can get away with this. We'll be fine here. I could see him going there. I could see him going to San Francisco, to be honest with you. Even though Brock Purdy's the guy over there, I could see him backing up Brock Purdy.
Yeah. There's a situation where it's like, does he really want to be a backup quarterback? But hang on a second. I mean, that's not a bad idea to be a high end backup. You could vault yourself to like a Teddy Bridgewater level. You could run circles around Teddy Bridgewater as being a backup quarterback, so if you have the skills, if you have the skill set to bring to the table and the organization you want to go to has the skills to put on the table to get to the Super Bowl, there's your match. Yeah.
So, I mean, there's definite possibilities there for Derek Carr. So keep on the lookout for him. And that's all our news around the league. But, we got one more thing to jump into, and that is our rookie or our wide receiver rankings, our prospect rankings for the wide receiver position. The NFL Combine, we're 2 weeks away from the Combine.
We are stoked.
So fired up. We've been fired up about the Combine for a while. And hey, we've got all kinds of stuff going on with the receivers. We've already checked out the quarterbacks, the interior offensive linemen, the offensive tackles. Coming out in this draft. Now, Alex, we're going to jump into our wide receivers for the upcoming draft class. I have my top 5 all situated. I watched tape like you wouldn't believe this week. This one's my favorite position of all of the positions in all of football. Wide receiver, and my number one receiver, it should come as no surprise, a guy that I raved about all throughout the college football season, and just me being a USC Trojans fan, give me Mekhi Lemon as my number one receiver coming out of this class, the 2025 Biletnikoff winner. Look, this guy is a stud. He's the best receiver out of this class to me. He's ridiculously good when it comes to being a possession receiver. He had only 3 drops in 175 targets over 2 seasons. I mean, that should tell you everything you need to know about that. He's got great footwork. He gets both feet down when he's near the sidelines. And this is one of those comparisons that I love to make because I love it. He's got that Chris Carter toe tap foot drag along the sidelines that you just love. And it's so pretty. His routes are great. He runs them clean. He's got great agility. It takes corners completely out of the play. Just leaves them in the dust. They can't keep up with him. They don't know what direction he's going. He's a good run blocker. In spite of the fact that he's not real big, he's a good run blocker. And he creates what I like to call a leverage block. He gets right underneath those shoulder pads, and he doesn't allow the corner to separate to get in a run support. I like that a lot. He's a good hand fighter down the field. He's capable of making plays on the ball at all 3 levels. I love Makai Lemon. Cons on him, there's not many. He's not super explosive off the line. He's got more of a build-up speed. You know, he's not just going to take off the line. His speed actually has to build up as he runs. He lacks the size. I already talked about that. There are concerns about his run speed after the catch, and he has a tendency to get caught up and jammed at the line due to his lack of size by like more aggressive defensive backs. But Makai Lemon, I mean,
yeah,
he's a stud. This guy's going to be a star.
Absolutely, an easy top 10 draft pick. You know, he's his trends. He's most likely at this stage of the game looking to go to Baltimore at 16%, the New York Jets, God help us, at 16%, and the Kansas City Chiefs at 13%. So I'm telling you what. You know, the Kansas City Chiefs, you know, the fact that, you know, they got bounced out of the playoffs like several weeks before the season ended. I mean, don't sleep on them. Don't, you know, and obviously, you know, don't start Patrick Mahomes. But, I mean, but even then, you know, the GM over there, and his name escapes me right now, but, you know, we have said that the Kansas City Chiefs organization is one of the most shrewd organizations in football. And if they know, then they know talent when they see it. So I would be very interested to see Kansas, especially our fine friends at Tankathon, have that young man, not that young man. The Kansas City Chiefs are picking in the top 10. They're picking 9th.
Yes.
So,
yes,
you know, if Makai Lemon falls to number 9, I would be stupid to not pick him up.
Yeah, the only way they don't, in my opinion, is if Julian Love is available. I mean, that's the only way. Jeremiah Love rather. That's the only way that they don't pick him up. And Makai Lemon, you know, most projections have had him going like early to mid teens. I could see him probably going like anywhere from like 10 to 13. To me, he's the best receiver out of this draft. And we'll be talking about the guy who a lot of people are thinking is the best receiver out of this draft. But I personally think that they're only saying that because of where he came from. We'll talk about that in a minute. But number 2, I've got Jordan Tyson. You know, this guy, he's not afraid of the contact when making contested catches. He high points the ball, he tracks the ball well. He makes catches in traffic. I love it. He's got this positional versatility to line up and down, outside, in the slot, as well as being the motion man. He can play any spot on the line. He beats up zone coverage, just beats the hell out of it. He finds weaknesses and holes. He exploits zone coverage over the middle and on intermediate routes. He creates space with his physicality in a subtle enough way where it's not identified as offensive pass interference, which I love. I think that's really sly on his part. The cons on him, even though he's okay taking contact, is he does have a history of injury issues. He had a knee issue in 2022. He had a collarbone issue in 2024. He had a hamstring issue in 2025. So there's that to think about. He does struggle against press man coverage. He's got a tendency to get bullied a little bit at the line of scrimmage. He does have a drops issue, though. He's got 12 drops between 2022 and 2024, and he's quicker than fast. He doesn't have the straight line speed that one would prefer. He's more quick than anything. But overall, I like Jordan Tyson a lot. The positional versatility really stands out to me. And obviously I like the idea that he can beat the hell out of zone coverage, which most defenses in the NFL are leaning more toward these days. You don't see a lot of man coverage defense that other than maybe in Detroit where they play a lot of man. But Jordan Tyson, I like him as number 2, don't you?
Absolutely. And his grades definitely reflect that. He's an 82.9 overall grade and an 85.3 receiving grade per Pro Football Focus. I kind of like how he's trending like, when I take a look at his trend graph, it doesn't move a whole lot. Like he's going top 20 at least, and maybe even top 10. Now the trends are looking like he's going to either go to the Cleveland Browns at 29% currently, the New York Football Giants 20%. So that would be a great addition to Wan'Dale Robinson and Malik Neighbors, and then a 12% and a 12% chance to go to the New Orleans Saints. And having this guy go to the Giants as well. I mean, who else got drafted to the Giants from Arizona State? That's right, Cam Scatterbo. So so to have
buddy.
So you have that camaraderie there. I mean, if we got Jordan Tyson, Jackson Dart, and Cam Scatterbo starting a new mini reality show, I may just tune in.
It's going to be like Jersey Shore. I mean, and what's interesting is their stadium's in Jersey, but I digress.
Right.
Number three, a guy that a lot of people seem to be in love with. A lot of people say he's going to be a top 3 pick. I don't buy him as a top 3 pick. I do think he's a first round guy, but I think there's a little too much hype about him. It's Carnell Tate out of Ohio State. Look, he's good. He catches the ball with great body positioning. He makes sure it only belongs to him. He's the guy that's catching that ball. He's a real good possession receiver. He's got great hands. He's unafraid of contact when it comes to making catches in traffic. He retains possession through the contact, which I love. He's a true boundary X receiver. He can track deep passes over the shoulder on either side of the field. Downside on him, he's not very fast. He currently has a 4.6 40 time, which has raised some concerns.
Yeah, especially for a wide receiver. Oof, that's too slow. Yeah.
He's got a tendency to telegraph his breaks and cuts a little bit. He allows opposing defensive backs to know exactly what he's doing when he's getting ready to do it. He gets manhandled by the more physical corners in press man coverage, and he's not a good run blocker. I mean, he's just straight not good at it. Bad hand techniques. He's just not a good blocker all around. I do like Carnell Tate. There's speed there that I have questions about. The run blocking, the fact that he gets just kind of pushed around at the line of scrimmage. I don't know. I'm not as big on him as a lot of people are. What say you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't like the 75.2 grade versus man coverage. I mean, it's okay. You do if you're going to be going, top 10, you want excellence. And if you're posting a 75.2 grade versus man coverage, I mean, it's there are a lot of defenses out there that do play man. Even though it's starting to lean towards zone, man still exists. I like his 89 receiving grade. I mean, he's a great catcher. His draft stock's trending upward. Most likely, his trends right now looks like he's going to be drafted by the Cleveland Browns at 32%, the Giants at 24%, and the Saints at 10%. But maybe the combine might change things.
Yeah, they're talking about him being a top 5 pick, and that's where he's been sort of projected as a top 5 guy, top 6 guy, and being the number 1 receiver off the board. I feel like a lot of it is because of the fact that he's an Ohio State guy, and I get it. Wide receiver there's a lot of hype there about look at all these wide receivers that have been created by Brian Hartline and company, and I get it. Now Brian Hartline's not there anymore, but to me, it's one of those things where I'm just kind of like, let's not get too excited about this guy. Like let's hold the phone for a minute here. I like Carnell Tate, but
let's believe it when we see it.
Yeah, I'm not as sold on him as everybody else is. I'm sure he'll be fine in the league, but this is, I feel like there's a lot, maybe far too much hype about Carnell Tate at this point, for me anyway. Number 4, Denzel Boston out of Washington there.
I love that
throws
name.
on him. Yeah, good, functional, and this is a Boots term. He's got that in-game speed. It tells a completely different story than his 40 time.
Mm-hmm.
He's got solid hands. He catches passes and allowing defense. He doesn't allow defensive backs to punch the ball out of his hands when he catches it, which I like a lot. He plays with good positioning, so he maneuvers his body in such a way he cuts them off from even having a chance to make plays on the ball, making him also really great in the red zone. I love that part about him. He's also a really good run blocker. There's Denzel Boston. Cons on him, he's not a great route runner as the other guys in this class. He comes off as more of a deep threat, sort of a one-trick pony kind of guy to me. He doesn't have the speed or the agility preferred for the position. Instead, he kind of wins with his size and more technique than anything. And he's got a lack of big play upside after the catch. So he's not going to be your Malik Neighbors type where he catches a slant and takes it to the house. He's got to get down the field and you got to bomb it to him. And that's kind of where he's at. I got some questions about Denzel Boston, but I do like the big play ability.
Yeah, it's like, I'm going to just throw the ball out there. Denzel's got to be out there somewhere. So
yeah. The question becomes, does he develop, a better route tactician, or is he going to become Torrey Smith? That's the question of the day. So,
I like his contested catch rate here. It's a 76.9. So, when he fights with the DBs, if he comes up with the ball, I mean, that's what you want. His drop rate's a little high at 3.1%. But he has a great grade versus man coverage. Yep. I'd be interested to see his grades versus zone coverage, but in an 88 overall grade, I mean that's you can't get much better than that. And with Denzel Boston, his trends, if we take a look, he's most likely going to go to either the Pittsburgh Steelers 30%, the New York Jets 16%. And the Buffalo Bills 13%, and it looks like he's going to be like low to mid 20s. I think that sounds about right. But do you think that argument could be made that he could be an early day 2 guy?
Yeah, I think he could be. There's a big possibility that we could see an early day 2. He's got that big play ability. The thing is, like, okay, let's say Buffalo goes and gets him. You're basically. To me, you're getting another Keon Coleman in this situation if you were to take him to Buffalo. I just don't know that he's a fit there. To me, you have to find yourself a true possession receiver. If I'm the Buffalo Bills, I'm staring down. Oh, maybe we can trade up and get Mekhi Lemon. Maybe we can trade up and grab Carnell Tate if he's not going to go. Maybe we can go get Jordan Tyson. But if I'm the Buffalo Bills, I'm considering moving up in this draft to go find somebody that's going to fit the role that you need him to fit and complement what you already have. So there's a lot of issues there. Number 5 to me, and this one might be a little surprising to some folks because it is a bit of a reach as my number 5 receiver based on where he's projected to go. But I like Elijah Surratt out of Indiana. I like him a lot.
I love old Waffle House.
Yeah, he's a superb route runner. He's lightning quick out of his breaks, man. He keeps opposing defensive backs guessing. He's got some Stephon Diggs to him in that the head and body movements. He's an excellent possession receiver. He makes catches at all levels. He lives in the realm of short and intermediate routes, though. He exploits zone coverage like it's going out of style. And he's a red zone monster. Monster. I put that in my notes in all caps. He had 44 career receiving touchdowns, leading all active FBS receivers, and 15 scores in 2025, which was tied for the second highest in Indiana's single season history. This guy is the real deal. As for the cons, he's not a speed burner, which makes him questionable as a deep ball threat. He's not the kind of guy that makes plays with his legs after the catch. You're not going to get that. He's not going to be Malik Neighbors. He struggles with physicality from opponents at the line who have superior hand techniques or are just playing bigger. So he gets jammed and knocked off his route a little early in the play. But I like Elijah Surratt a lot. I think he's kind of being undersold, like where Carnell Tate is being oversold. I think Elijah Surratt is getting undersold in this year's draft after what we saw for that Indiana Hoosiers team, what he was able to accomplish. He was the clear-cut number 1 there. I like Elijah Surratt a lot. Alex, I know you were a big fan of him.
Yeah, huge fan. I mean, obviously he has one of the best nicknames in football, Waffle House, probably because he's always open. So what is he, the second coming of A.J. Brown? But but I digress. I'm curious about his 4.5% drop rate, and he only has a 40% contested catch rate, which even for a possession receiver, you really need to get your hands on the ball. But having that zone and in the short routes and the over the middle stuff, that's a great trait to have, because especially late in the game, if your opponent decides to just dip into zone and just give everything underneath, I mean, this is a perfect guy to do it. So some players are better with the deep ball, but some players are better with the short balls. And you know what? That's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing at all. As far as trends go, he's looking to get drafted by the Vegas Raiders at 15%, 9% for the San Francisco 49ers, and 8% for the Buffalo Bills.
Could be a good fit for the Raiders if they do go out and get Fernando Mendoza, given the circumstances there.
Handcuff.
That could be a nice little handcuff there. You go and get him, and you could probably get him in the second or third round.
Yeah.
I could see him probably going like late second, early third.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, he's a day two guy. That's kind of what he reads like to me. But we'll see where he goes. And Alex, you got some other guys that you were staring down. Go ahead and hit me.
Yeah, absolutely. So here at the Outside Blitz, we call these guys sleepers. Now, sometimes I'll call them sleepers because you just got to keep your eyes out for these guys. They're diamonds in the rough. And, I do have one sleeper in here who arguably might be a sleeper because there's a reason people are sleeping on him. So, first of all, let's go with KC Concepcion out of Texas A&M. He had a 78.4 overall PFF grade and a 79.9 receiving grade. His 2025 statistics, he went 61 for 101, so 61 catches out of 101 attempts. So a 60.4% completion rate, not bad, for 919 total yards with a 15.1 average. Here's the kicker, though. Half of his yards were yards after the catch. He had a staggering 440 yards after catch in 2025, and he had 14 forced missed tackles. So that means when you catch the ball and you do your moves, you cause the defender to miss. You break their ankles. And if he did that 14 times last year, I'm like, okay, to me that's an underrated stat. Like maybe it's like, oh, it's something you didn't really think was important. But then when you look at him, like, oh, that's pretty impressive. He did give up 2 interceptions, though. And then there's nothing worse than when your quarterback throws a perfectly laced ball. And part of it is defensive play. I get it. But at the same time, you have 2 jobs. Get open and catch a football. We saw plenty of people in the Senior Bowl tip balls into defenders' hands. So you don't want to do that. Not at all. So the pros on him, he has outstanding acceleration and burst capabilities, and it creates separation from the DBs. And again, half of his 2025 receiving yards came after the catch. So, you really want a guy with some yak on him. So that's I feel that's a very important statistic. Go ahead.
He plays bigger than he is.
Yeah.
He plays a lot bigger than he is. We're at 5'11", 190 pounds. And this guy's out here, he's causing missed tackles, but he's also breaking tackles. And he's playing very physical football for a guy that is only that size. It's kind of interesting to note that, because judging by what you see in the numbers, you'd expect him to be 6'4".
Right.
Now we're talking about a guy that's 5'11". So it's a little bit interesting to see somebody that small in that league or in the professional game or the college game playing as physical as he is.
Yeah, absolutely. And really the only couple of he's a zone coverage buster too. So that's something to keep an eye out on, because again, the NFL is leaning more towards zone these days, so you kind of want a guy that can exploit that. Hey, Chicago Bears, knock, knock, knock. So the cons on him, again, you mentioned him. He's small, and it limits his catch radius, and he's easily rerouted in zone coverage. So it's not something to look out for. I don't like his drop rate. It's really high. It's 10.3%. Again, you have two jobs, and one of them's to catch the football. So
yeah, we talked about that. We were talking about that offline before we got on the show here. It was the big two for me, and a lot of people would wonder, because this guy's supposed to be like, he's a top 5 receiver, by a lot of different metrics and by a lot of different scouts. He's a top guy at the position. For me, the big downers on him, and you mentioned one of them, is the drops. He had 19 drops on 186 career catches. So for me, it was, and I put it out, drops and blocks were the two things. The drop rate was high, and he's not as good of a run blocker as I would prefer. It's just not there in the run blocking game. He's got to develop that for me.
Yeah, I mean, football's a team sport. You got to help your guys out. One other con, he seems to be one-dimensional. He relies really heavily on his athleticism. Instead of having like footwork and technique. So, but again, that's what you have the combine for, and that's what you have training camp for. Having a good, an offensive-minded head coach or a receivers coach that can really, point him in the right direction. Trends. He looks like he's going to go to either the Buffalo Bills at 32%. That'd be a pretty decent pickup. Pittsburgh at 20% and San Francisco at 17%. So moving on now, that guy's a sleeper because of his, hey, I might be looking at him at day 2. This guy is a sleeper because there may be a reason why people might be sleeping on him, because he had a very impressive Senior Bowl performance. Yes. I'm talking about Malachi Fields out of Notre Dame. So he had a 75.8 overall PFF grade. He had a 76.2 receiving grade. And in 2025, he only went 36 for 62. And I think that'll be a con on him. I'll explain it in a minute. And that does give him a 58.1 completion rate for only 630 total yards, but it had a 17.5 average. He had 192 yards after the catch, 6 forced missed tackles, and he only gave up 1 interception and only had 1 drop all of last year. And that was against Navy. Actually, not just last year, his entire career. He only had 1 drop. So, so pros on him. Yep, never drops the ball. And he's really built like a power forward. He's like 6'4", 218 pounds, giant receiver. So, I don't know if it's as big as Calvin Johnson per se, but I mean, when you get a big-bodied receiver like that, he can easily, go up and go get the ball, and high point the ball. He also carries himself with a captain's mentality, so he has high leadership skills. So, you want a guy that's mature. You want a guy that, can represent your organization with class, because a lot of these guys these days, I mean, we've had plenty of stories about the off-the-field bullshit, but, this guy doesn't seem to have a whole lot of it.
Now, talking about Fields, not only like I love the leadership qualities, but the things about him that stood out to me. First of all, the Senior Bowl, there were questions about whether or not he was going to be a true deep ball threat. There were some questions there. A lot of people were going, "Oh, is he going to be a deep threat?" We saw at the Senior Bowl, we got to see him. I mean, a couple of times, really make opposing corners look silly. Mm-hmm. I mean, they had the one-on-one drills, and it was like watching, Randy Moss getting covered by a quarterback. It was bad. He was faking him out. We got to see him, get off the ball and leave a corner straight in his dust at one point. Catch a deep ball beautifully right over the shoulder. There were a couple during practices where he was coming up, making catches in coverage, man to man. He repositions his body completely, just physically dominates the corner in a way where he goes up and gets the ball. And we talk about, you had said just 630 yards. Well, he played for Notre Dame. Yep. It's not like Notre Dame's out here, chucking the ball all over the field. It's not like they're over here, playing air raid football or anything like that. It's Notre Dame. They are run heavy. That's what they do. They run the ball, and that's why he's not going to wind up getting a ton of targets like that. But he still was productive. 630 yards, 5 touchdowns. That's pretty impressive for a guy that's playing in a school where and this is a step up for him. If you recall, he was at Virginia. So this is a step up for him going to Notre Dame, even though Notre Dame doesn't throw the ball as one would prefer. He still put up a pretty respectable stat line given the circumstances.
So yeah, absolutely. That's one of the cons I had listed on him, and it's debatable. It could be a con. It's also possibly not his fault. But yeah. Notre Dame's heavy scheme. May have played a part in his statistics, but his route tree will have a ceiling at the next level. At least that's what our friends at NFL Draft Buzz, mentioned about him. Now it's also hard for him to change tact when the pocket collapses. So to get an extra route out, or to just, play backyard football and give your quarterback an opportunity to, to chuck you the ball when he's running for his life. He's kind of set in his ways.
That's the best way to put it. Backyard football. You see like Travis Kelce trends like that, where Travis Kelce is watching Patrick Mahomes scrabble for his life, and then you see him go, I'm going to go ahead and just swing over here and hope. And you see the same thing out of those experienced guys, George Kittle, Travis Kelce, et cetera. Those big-time pass catchers that have been doing this for a minute, they see their quarterback struggling and trying to find something. They're going to go and try and make something. And like you said, a little backyard football, a little bit of, hey, I'm going to just go over here. I'm going to point, and we're going to improv today. And that's kind of what one of those things that he doesn't do. But I like Malachi Fields. I liked him, and a lot of people are projecting him as a 2nd and 3rd round pick. Big bodied guy. He could wind up being a stud. I think he's got a lot of high end wide receiver 2 upside. If I was to venture a guess about how he's going to turn out in the NFL level, he's got a little bit of Anquan Bolden to him, in my opinion. I kind of like that. Yeah, I like that comp a lot. I think that's about where he's headed. Where do you have him going? Where do you have him projected?
So trends wise, and this is pre-combine and pre-draft, but most likely right now he's most likely going to be drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers at 27%. Yep. That'd be a pretty good landing spot. Philadelphia Eagles at 9% and 7% with the Minnesota Vikings. And it looks like he's going to be like a day 3 guy, high 70s, mid 80s.
Yeah, I could see him being a day 2 guy. A lot of teams projected him round 2, round 3. I could see him being a day 2 guy, probably 3rd round. Mid 3rd round seems like a really nice spot for him, maybe even early 3rd round, because of how well he did. That combine's going to matter, though. When we get down there in 2 weeks, when we get down to Indianapolis and we're at Lucas Oil, we're going to be able to get a good look at Malachi Fields, and we're going to get an idea of what he's all about. And we saw just how much that NFL combine. People blow off the combine. Oh, it's, we've heard all these jokes about, it's the underwear Olympics and all this other nonsense. Listen, this is where these guys a lot of times make their money. We've seen guys that were projected undrafted that went 5th round, 4th round, 6th round. We've seen this stuff. So we know what this can do for an NFL draftee's stock going in. So pay attention to Malachi Fields out there when he's out there at the combine. We're going to see just how much this affects his draft stock. This could turn him into an early 3rd round, maybe even a 2nd round guy. So got to pay attention to it.
Yep. I mean, if you give him a shot, he might surprise you. So last but not least for me, our trend here, we've kind of gone back and forth with Indiana players. I've been a huge fan of this university. And this next prospect is no different. Omar Cooper Jr. out of the University of Indiana. He was a redshirt junior in college. He's 6 foot 204. and he is an 87.4 overall PFF grade, an 86 receiving grade, and he even has an 86.8 run grade, which, it's not necessarily something to pay attention to as far as a run grade, but when you have something like that, I'm like, oh, wait a minute, hey, so maybe he's, maybe you have those jet sweeps, or maybe you just have like a reverse, he's got some gas to him. Now his 2025 statistics. So he went 69 for 91, so 69 catches out of 91 attempts for 937 yards. He had a 75.8 completion percentage and a 13.6 yards average. And yards after the catch, he had 494. Again, half of his yards came from yards after the catch. So again, very, very impressive there. Also, he had 27 forced missed tackles. This guy will break your DB's legs and ankles. You will not be able to get him down. I mean, he's a juker, and he only gave up one interception all year, and he only had 3 drops this year. So his drop rate's actually very, very low. If you take a look at that, well, okay, I take that back. It's low-ish, 4.2%.
So you mentioned the run after catch ability, which I love. I think that is kind of his bread and butter. He's really a great receiver. I mean, he catches the ball well at all 3 levels. I like that a lot. He'll finish. When it comes to catch, when he gets the ball in his hands, he's going to finish the play. Here's the thing, though, and the big knock on him, and it was my one big knock, was just the route running was atrocious. He is just a bad route runner. That's all it is when it comes to him. He has all the physical tools. Physically, he is just on point. He has everything that you want out of a receiver, but the route running is just so bad. It really is. I mean, he doesn't have a very deep route tree. You can tell he doesn't. He needs to build that up. He doesn't have the technique when it comes to running his routes, the agility, those head and body movements. He doesn't have those types of things at his disposal, which make me a little concerned. That said, that's stuff that can be coached, and that's stuff that can be developed. That's stuff that can be taught at the pro level, because he does have those raw physical tools. And to me, he's going to get to the NFL level with the right team. He could be a really big star at the NFL level. We could be talking about this guy. So, I mean, I like him a lot, Omar Cooper Jr. And technically he was the number 2 to Elijah Surratt, right? And he turned out to be all right. He still had 900 plus yards, and that's in a 12-game season, mind you. Well, technically it was a little longer, but
still, I mean, it was really good.
You play a full 17 NFL slate.
Yep.
And then if at that rate, you're talking over 1,000-yard receiver, right?
I mean, right. I mean, he even in a regular, 12 or 14 game stretch, he still had 804 yards. I mean, we weren't even counting the playoffs, not counting the playoffs. The 937 is, regular and postseason. So as far as trends go, he's most likely going to be in probably an early second round or, maybe even a late second round guy. 14% for the San Francisco 49ers, 11% for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and 9% for the Buffalo Bills.
I think the Niners are a great fit. I think the Bills are a great fit. I think both those teams, if you look at the Niners, they need a receiver, obviously Brandon Ayuk going out the door. And then you look over at the Buffalo Bills, and you've got a situation where they just need a number 1 receiver. I mean, that's just what they need. If they can get a good route running receiver, hey, this guy could be right up their alley. I could definitely see him, like I said, with the physical tool that he has. Joe Brady, we always joke that he doesn't know what to do with number 1 receivers, but realistically, Joe Brady, if you recall, and he was the offensive coordinator for LSU. And if you recall, when he was the offensive coordinator for LSU, they won a national championship with Justin Jefferson and
Joe Burrow,
Jamar Chase. And Jamar Chase. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, he does have something there. You know, like we'll have to figure out what, but we're going to see what happens with Mr. Omar Cooper Jr. I think he's a really good selection. I believe that he's probably, in my opinion, about a day 3 or day 2 pick. Probably round 3 is where I would probably land him, right in the middle of round 3. But those would be our sleepers. Boots is going to probably provide us with our sleepers next week. But that's our show, Alex. We got this one in the books. Hey, you know what? We're a week after the Super Bowl. We are going to continue, by the way. We are going to continue going weekly. Yep. Over the off season, the last couple of years, we've switched to bi-weekly over the regular season. And we said, we want to keep bringing football content to you guys every single week. And we're going to do just that. So on a weekly basis, we're going to continue this show. We're going to do it up. If Boots can make it, great. If he can't, every week, that's okay. Alex, this is why you and I, we have ourselves a 3-man team. And between you, me, and Boots, if Alex can't make it, Boots can make it. I've done solo shows before. It's just a thing. We're going to take care of you guys. We're going to make sure that we have football content coming your way every single week right here on the Outside Blitz. That's what we're going to do. We do it for our brethren and our Blitz babies.
Yep,
and that's what we're gonna do.
And don't be shy when we come down to Indianapolis for the combine. We'll be the guys walking around in the green Outside Blitz shirts, And
yes, sir.
we'll even be bringing you bite-sized episodes of our thoughts from each day. Which prospects did we like? Which prospects did we not? Well, I wouldn't say not like, but which prospects could use improvement. And,
yes.
And any cool stories, obviously, that we come across, what we would love to share with you guys. And, and again, just come say hi. We're either going to be at the bar, or we're definitely going to be at the stadium. Just come look for us. We're not that hard to find.
Yeah, we're going to be around town. We're going to be going to some breweries out that way. We're going to be going to Lucas Oil Stadium, obviously. All 4 days we'll be in there, so we're going to be talking to everybody. And now we've got a completely different setup for the pod. We're live on X. We're live on Facebook now. We're live on Kick. We're live on Twitch every week now. Plus, we've got the recordings of these shows. If you want to listen to them later, you can always listen to them on Odyssey. You can listen to them on Spotify. We're going to be on YouTube very shortly here, so we're going to be getting on there. We're going to be, you're able to listen to us on SoundCloud. You're able to listen to us on Apple Podcasts. So, I mean, we've got a lot of different avenues for you guys to listen to the shows and really enjoy them and just have a listen, give us some feedback. We love it. Right now we've been getting people talking to us a little bit here on Twitch and whatnot. So that's a good time. Kick is a big one. X and Facebook, we're everywhere now. We've expanded. The great expansion of the Outside Blitz for 2026 is a thing.
It's only a matter. It's only a matter of time before we start, booking live shows. That's a pipe dream, but a guy can dream. That's something that we definitely want to accomplish here. We've got that on the agenda. We've been talking a lot about doing what we're doing now and expanding things the way we have. So we're excited to be doing that. We're excited to be getting all kinds of feedback. People, and don't be afraid to chime in, folks. If you see us, send us a comment, send us a message. We'd be happy to talk to you guys on the show and give our thoughts on certain things. So, but we're super excited. We love it. But before we get out of here, let's talk about a few of our sponsors, I guess. We could talk about, first of all, It's Your Time Massage. Amanda's a wonderful massage therapist. She does excellent work. She's the best massage therapist in the Metro Detroit area. If you're looking for Swedish or deep tissue massages, if you're looking for muscle scraping, if you're looking for CBD oil, if you're looking for red light therapy, if you're looking to get a package, you can get a package. If you're looking for gift certificates, you can get gift certificates for that special someone in your life. If you want to go out and get yourself a membership with It's Your Time Massage, you could just check her out, iytmassage.com, or you can find her at It's Your Time Massage LLC on Facebook and book yourself an appointment. She's the best of the best at what she does. I highly recommend Amanda to anybody. Check her out, iytmassage.com. And remember, folks, it's your time. Also, let's go ahead and talk about
pictures. Let's talk about Patch Miracle Photography. Andrew Langland, his amazing wife, Chantel, they do incredible work. They are the best photographers in the Metro Detroit area or anywhere for that matter. PatchMiraclePhotography.com if you're looking for graduation pictures.
What?
If you're looking for baby photos.
What?
If you're looking for birthday photos.
What?
Graduation pictures.
What?
Engagement photos.
What?
Wedding photos.
What?
Or if you're looking to do that special sexy boudoir shoot for that special someone in your life.
All right.
That's right. Check out PatchMiraclePhotography.com. They're amazing. They made mine and my wife's wedding night even more special than we could have imagined. They made me look like a movie star on my wedding night.
Val Kilmer.
Hey, I'll take Val Kilmer. Gorgeous. But we have a bunch of their photos hung up on the wall. We love them. They're high quality photos. They are amazing at everything that they do. We got Santa Claus pictures. Christmas pictures rather. They do Santa Claus pictures, but we got Christmas pictures with them as well for the whole family. So it was a great time. Check them out, PatchMiraclePhotography.com. They're incredible. We highly recommend them. Also, Alex, we got the artist formerly known as Big Willie Dubs Gaming. Now we'll talk about him as No Shot Bot TTV. Will's doing great stuff over there. The first-person shooter stuff has really taken off for him. He's on Twitch. He's on Facebook. He's on the TikTok. There's my old man moment for the day. You can check out No Shot Bot TTV. Also, he does some extracurricular stuff. The one day he was saying, hey, if I get such and such amount of donations, I'm going to shave off my beard and piss off my wife. He does those types of things. So check him out, No Shot Bot TTV. Also, Alex, let's go ahead and talk about Steel Twins Gaming. What you got going on over there?
Indeed. Hey, kids, do you like video games? Do you like theater? The Steel Twins Gaming may just be what you're looking for. Whether it's the good old first-person shooter, RPG, or your favorite story-based adventures, we think we have something for just about everyone. We've got everything you need to satisfy your digital cravings, whatever they may be. And best of all, our channel has something nobody else has: voice acting. Every week, my brother and I will play a game that has a lot of text-based dialogue, and we will act it out with the voices that come up in our heads for the characters you see on screen. And we're working through Beacon Pines Season 19. We're looking to do this on Saturday morning. We're recording this on Friday night, the 13th. So for Valentine's Day, hey, you know what? If you want to be read a story at 10 o'clock in the morning, go check us out on Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube. Sometimes we do our best to highlight the drama of the situation. And other times, we just goof off to have a good time. Either way, we're sure you'll be entertained. We're on every Friday or Saturday night. The consistency is hard with us. On or about, more to come on when we're going to actually be on, because I'll tell you what, it is difficult, but follow us on Twitter nonetheless at Steel Twins Alex to keep up to date on our shenanigans. Hey, don't forget the brother channel, Steel Twins Andy. He's sitting over my shoulder right now, just got home from work. There you will get your full fix of Nostalgic Mondays, Nintendo Tuesdays, FPS Wednesdays, Indie Thursdays, Open World Fridays, Random Saturdays, and Metroid Prime Sundays. So yeah, you want to talk about a lot of content, brudda? You're not going to get much more than that at Steel Twins Gaming. Content. Yeah,
Nostalgic Mondays is my jam, by the way. I love the nostalgic stuff. We're still waiting for Boots. He really wants Bad Dudes. He's waiting for Bad Dudes.
I know, yeah. The funny thing was we went on a road trip a couple of years ago, and we were in Houston, Texas. And we were at this place, and we saw an actual Bad Dudes cabinet. So I'm like, we took a picture of that, and we had to send it. So, yeah, absolutely, at some point, rest assured, you're going to see some Bad Dudes.
Yeah, we're going to see Bad Dudes on there. And last but not least, let's go ahead and talk about books.
Yes.
Those things that Boots claims, he doesn't read. But this one he did read. It's called I Ate Cookies Out of the Trash. It's by Tammy Pruitt. She's an incredible author. Look, this is a great book. It's an inspirational guide based on her real life experiences dealing with body image and eating issues. She shapes her whole book with her struggles and how to overcome them. It's supported with research-based facts and accompanied by her professional advice as a registered dietitian. And look, she lets others know that they're not alone in struggling with self-love and body image and disordered eating, but she backs us all up with science. She's a scientist, ladies and gentlemen. Science. She's a scientist. And Tammy isn't your stereotypical health guru who runs 7 miles a day and judges people for the kind of unhealthy food they eat. Instead, she's a friend you never had. She's the kind that encourages you and motivates you to rise above those dilemmas. She takes you on a stroll down memory lane where life pitted challenges against her and what she did to get through them. And look, this is a phenomenal book. It reads like a conversation, but not a boring one. She is incredible at what she does. Her book is phenomenal. It's very inspirational. I highly recommend it. I've read it myself. It's tremendous. You can check it out. You can get it on the .coms. You got to go. Yeah, that's the keyboard there ticking. You got to go on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com. You can go on Apple Books. You can find this book. You got to check it out on the .coms. You can't walk into a store and buy it. You got to order it online. So check it out. I Ate Cookies Out of the Trash by Tammy Pruitt. And enjoy that read. And Alex, with that is our show.
Yeah, absolutely. We have
2 weeks.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We got 2 weeks from the combine. I mean, we cannot wait. I mean, yes. I am positively. So, programming note, next week, Ol Cannonball is going to be visiting the Rents down in Gulf Shores, Alabama. So, more than likely, you will get your fill of the Bootleg Bettor next week. What prospects are we going to be looking at next week, Scotty?
Next week, we're going to be talking about running backs. We're jumping into we're jumping in the running back pool, so we're going to be discussing them, and then we'll follow it up the following week with tight ends and that episode will be coming a little early. We're going to be jumping on before the NFL Combine. Obviously, Alex and myself are going to be driving down there, and Andy for that matter. We're going to be driving down there starting on Thursday morning. So what's going to happen is we're going to record probably on either Tuesday or Wednesday, and we'll be on here live on either Tuesday or Wednesday before the NFL Combine. So you'll probably see us either on the it'll wind up being either the 24th or the 25th because the Combine is on the 26th. We're leaving nice and early in the morning, and we'll be driving down to Indianapolis, and we will be providing you with an updated Combine situation and what we found, our findings at the NFL Combine. We'll be doing that on March 6th is when we'll provide that to you, what we found while we were down there. But it's going to be a hell of a time. Indianapolis is a great time. We love it when people approach us and talk to us. We met a lot of great folks down there. We got to meet the father of one Jalix Hunt. That's James Hunt. We got to meet him while we were down there in Indianapolis. We so appreciated him. And the fact that he tuned into our show that day it meant a lot to us. We appreciated that so much. We get to meet a ton of people. We've had a lot of people follow us on X. We got to meet the family of Kane Medrano. We've been very vocal about that and how much we enjoyed hanging out with them. As particular, that was on day one of the whole Combine experience. We love meeting people. We love getting people out there and listening to us. We hope everybody tunes in, and we hope, like you said, if you guys see us out there in Indy, don't be strangers. We love the company. We love talking to people. We love checking stuff out. You can find us at the breweries. You can find us at the stadium. We're all going to be hanging out in Indy for 4 days. So don't be strangers. The Outside Blitz will be in the house. Alex, anything else you got before we take off on out of here?
Nope. I think that pretty much encapsulates it. It is the off season. Our episodes might be a little more bite-sized. Free agency frenzy will take place in mid-March, so get ready for that. And obviously the NFL draft, the main event will be late in April, so get ready for that.
Yeah, we're going to have weekly content coming to you guys moving forward. We're going to be streaming consistently throughout the off season and beyond. We're going to be doing this. We're going to be live, and we're going to be recording every week now. So I hope everybody's prepared for that. But folks, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time right here on the Outside Blitz.
I bet you watch again. And with that, pow, we're gone.
See you later, folks.
In a while, crocodile.